in the ever-weaving threads that make up this great tapestry of life, there was one thing that I never expected. It turns out Kai actually likes Tomodachi Game.
So my villain arc has started, and I okay. So here's the thing, because Lana knows what happened. Lana knows what I saw today because she's read the manga.
Yeah, I'm caught up.
Oh my god! So all I'll say is Tomodachi Game really just the first two games. Don't even watch them. They're just context. It's backstory. You want the show to start? You start episode 8. That's where you start a Tomodachi Game.
Episode 8.
Which is weird. Such a weird number to start at. But it's like, yeah, so Tomodachi Game right now has 2 episodes, episode 8 and 9. Those are the only episodes of Tomodachi Game.
Look, here's the thing. Here's the thing, Kai. What you're basically telling people is they have to skip Tomodachi Phantom Blood.
Yeah, that's true.
That's basically what it is, yeah.
Hang on.
The only time I would ever say to skip Phantom Blood, because otherwise I'd say no. You have to watch Phantom Blood.
Just watch them.
It's 9 episodes. You can watch it.
People are huge babies about fucking Phantom Blood for some reason. I don't get it. Phantom Blood's cool. Jonathan is cool. He's just, he's white bread. He's a Shoto.
It's like if you haven't read Bram Stoker's Dracula or like anything of that like genre of that story, I'd say, yeah, you might look at it and be like, oh, I don't really understand, the jokes they're making or like the references they're making to that story, but it's still enjoyable. The first 3 episodes of the anime are the most perfectly paced things, in my opinion. And then the rest of it is a blur up until episode 9.
So it's like with the first like arc of JoJo's, and this is also a thing that the manga does, is it's just like, you get the beginning bit with the vampire shit and the setup, and then things just kind of happen, and then you fall into a haze, and then at some point, this small child, well, small by Araki 1980 standards,
he's actually like 19 feet tall and like covered in muscles.
When he's like 6, and it's like, then you look up after your haze, and you're just like, what the fuck? When did Kenshiro get here?
I mean, let's be fair. Once it was episode 2 starts up, or it might be episode 3. I honestly now I'm not even. It's all blurring for me now. But the part where they're going into the tunnel and they're fighting the first vampire. Just Jonathan's outfit where he's wearing a baseball cap and a sweater vest with a bow tie. He looks so weird.
Okay, I think the weirdest part is when he's fighting Speedwagon.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I think Jonathan's outfit, the reason that he dresses that way is because he's never dressed himself in his entire life.
Oh, absolutely.
And that was the first time that I think he took a train there, so he probably slept on the train and then woke up and just put on like 5 pieces of clothing. And then he was like, "Uh-oh, it's quite cold out. I should put on this sweater vest." And that's why it's like a yellow sweater vest, if I remember correctly.
I think it's green. It's like a lime green.
It doesn't match anything he's currently wearing, but everything else seems like from what he's wearing looks like it matches. Anyway, we're not talking about Jonathan Joestar.
So speaking of JoJo at some point, though.
Speaking of Jonathan Joestar, hello and welcome to episode 9 of the Weeb Roundup.
Yeah, that's the episode you apparently start watching Phantom Blood.
Yeah, that's the episode where you start. Okay, if there are any part skippers listening, leave.
Any Homestuck axe skippers?
Oh my god.
Leave. Here's the thing with Homestuck. You either read Homestuck or you skip all of it. There's no axe skipping. You have to deal with the dog shit trolls just like everyone else.
No one skip anything. Don't skip the Tomodachi Game episodes. They're not. When you know that Tenji's about to admit everything, it stops being bad. It goes away. It really does. The pain and suffering goes away. Mm-hmm. The show looks like ass. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, it looks terrible. I still stand by, like, I think this is a bad adaptation, but like the story itself now was starting to get interesting, and it's
That's
like,
okay.
why weren't you
Like-
interesting before? I really wanted to.
So now we're gonna give the Lana cut of episode 8 of Tomodachi.
Oh, let's
Game.
go.
Well,
Let's
before
hear it.
that, there's one more thing I want to talk about before we go into actually talking about anime. Like,
Oh, we got news.
podcast.
And
There's one thing I want to talk about. So, we're recording this June 1st. Normally we record on Sundays. However, tonight we're recording at scenic midnight on a Tuesday. And the reason for that is because I had a friend come over and we watched Combo Breaker 2022.
How was it?
So for those that don't know, Combo Breaker is an open tournament for all the fucking fighting games. Guilty Gear Strive, Tekken 7, Street Fighter 5, Vampire Savior, Super Turbo. Fucking, if there's a fighting game that exists, there's probably an event for it at Combo Breaker. It's like the Evo of the Midwest is
Dragon Ball Fighters,
Definitely.
PlayStation All Stars.
Probably there's a side tournament for it.
Wow, Smash.
Akatsuki Blitzkampf?
100% a Blitzcomp
Oh,
and
yeah,
a
yeah.
Smash
No,
tournament.
I mean, that was, yeah. I
Naruto
don't
Ultimate
know.
Ninja Storm 4.
That game actually has been getting a resurgence.
Really? That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, the
like that
the Naruto fighting games. The big one that everyone's playing lately for Naruto is Naruto Ultimate Ninja 3 on the GameCube, I think.
Really?
That's been like the definitive one that a lot of people have been playing.
That's hype.
I'm surprised.
Sounds
You know what I want? I would actually want to see though, like actually resurface Clash of the Ninja.
No, that
I
is,
mean-
that is Clash of Ninja.
Oh, it is. Okay, yeah.
In Japan, it's called Naruto Ultimate Ninja.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah. But essentially Combo Breaker happened. And the big tournaments that I cared about as the anime person is I gave a big shit about Melty Blood Type Lumina, and I was watching through that bracket and I was screaming my ass off. And I know that Scrot took that, which is to be expected because Scrot's really good. And he was playing Mario, and no one knows how to fucking fight Mario right now because that character is like in like, without going into too much detail and going way too inside baseball, this character has the ability to shut down a lot of like the basic defensive mechanics, and a lot of other characters kind of can't do that. But the trade-off is he's playing a very different game and he's way harder. He's like a puppet
He's also
character.
the only character with bitches.
Sisters, I'll have you know.
Sisters. Okay, all right. Yeah.
Sisters.
Fair. But still.
But I watched Melty and that was hype. It had maybe the most hype Tekken bracket I have seen in ages. Because it had my favorite Tekken character, Miguel, in top 8. And like you had all of this fucking representation of people from Japan. You had Arslan Ash. I believe you had a guy, the guy that was playing Miguel was actually a German player. And like the top 8 for Tekken 7, I'm gonna tell you right now, if you're listening to this podcast, go into another window. Keep us pulled up because we need that sweet CPM money stat. But go into a separate window and pull up top 8 for top 8 for Tekken 7 from Combo Breaker 2022. That shit is, I was screaming. That was some good ass Tekken. And then like the piece de resistance, like the last event of the night that was there was Guilty Gear Strive. Because we live in this weird alternate universe now where Capcom has been completely dethroned as the king of fighting games. And like Daisuke has like risen to the top of the mountain with his electric guitar and piano. And he's just constantly riffing while the clouds open up and Soul Bad Guy descends from the heavens on a fucking winged motorcycle. And it is absolutely glorious. But
Isn't it amazing thinking about that? We're 20 years in the future, and like Daisuke is at the top of the mountain.
he's worked so hard to get there.
15 years ago, I wouldn't have believed you.
15 years ago, I wouldn't have believed me.
Yeah, honestly.
Like Capcom had such a hold. Like just a quick little history bit was that like in terms of the FGC, Capcom controlled everything in terms of big events. Every event, the last thing you saw was either Marvel versus Capcom or Street Fighter. And then Capcom fumbled the bag like 4 times in a row And then all of a sudden, Guilty Gear comes out of nowhere, and everyone's like, "Hey, yo, this Soul Bad Guy motherfucker's pretty cool." You know what I mean? And I'm like, "That's what I've been trying to tell all of you for the past decade."
This series has a lot of really cool looking characters.
That's what I've been telling everyone for the past decade, but no one wanted to believe me. Fuck them. But anywho, so like, we live in a world where the main stage game at this point is fucking Guilty Gear, and it's wild. But so top 8 happens for Strive, and you had a decent amount of character representation. It was like there were 2 Leos, 2 Happy Chaoses, a May. Oh god, I'm trying to remember what were the other 3 characters. A Zato. Yeah, Peppery Splash was playing Zato. And I'm trying to remember the other 2 characters. I cannot remember them off the top of my head, so please excuse me for that one. It might come to me in a bit. But essentially, the big matches that I wanted to kind of like highlight were the matches with Happy Chaos.
Oh yeah.
So Happy Chaos is kind of a hot topic right now in Guilty Gear Strive because he is like considered to be like the best character in the game. He has ways to play the game that are very uninteractive. He doesn't have to deal with a lot of the shit that a whole bunch of like the rest of the cast have to like deal with on the regular, because he can just zone you from like full screen super hard. It's super oppressive. He guard crushes you from full screen, putting himself in an advantage state constantly. And then at any point he can decide to just run up from that zoning and then also run like a relatively competent close range game as well. And like, I'm oversimplifying it for the sake of the peanut gallery, but like it's ridiculously oppressive. And so going in, a lot of the main matches, a lot of the time for top 4 were usually along the lines of Happy Chaos versus Leo or Happy Chaos versus Happy Chaos. And these matches are
my gosh,
fucking insane. There
so
was a
Nick
point
made a point of like showing us all the Happy Chaos versus Leo matchup, because that was, if I saw that live, I would have lost my mind, dude. Please watch that match. Please watch that match. I'm begging you.
The match in particular is Umisho versus Razo. Umisho Happy Chaos versus Razo Leo. And like, it is I was fucking screaming.
It's
I'm
like
screaming thinking about it. These top 8 matches were so fucking good, dude.
I think what I liked most about it is that, like, because of what was happening, even if you didn't understand fighting games, you were still like, what? Like, just losing your mind just watching.
So I think one thing I kind of want to get across is, imagine you have this dude from full screen. He's super feral. He's trying to run in on this motherfucker with a gun. But every time the guy with the gun is trying to stop him, imagine every time he shoots, you get this bah! And it's like a bass blasting at like 100 decibels every single time. And it is a fucking spectacle. A lot of people will look at zoning and be like, that shit's boring. And I'm like, no. Like, Happy Chaos zoning is absolutely just so fun to watch. I'm not kidding. It's so fucking cool. But so that happens. The winner of Strive was NYC Tempest, who was a Leo player, formerly a May player. They're an incredibly high-level player from New York. They win a whole bunch of the NLBC events, I believe, before NLBC Online stopped running very recently because Spooky wanted to take a break from that. And essentially, like, since then, like, this person has been fucking bringing it. It's fucking fantastic. Like, shout outs to Tempest for running it for what will essentially be the last tournament for season 1 of Guilty Gear Strive, which kind of brings me to what we kind of learned today, actually, on June 1st. Where there was a little bit of a talk going on called Arc Live, which was essentially like a little podcast of people talking about what's going to be happening with like Guilty Gear Strive, tournament plans for Arc Revo, how qualifiers are going to work and whatnot. But they showed a little bit of footage from season 2 of the game. And they kind of showed a small thing where essentially hit stun for light normals has been increased a whole lot. Because the big thing that the game has right now is that when you're doing jabs, a lot of the time you're just doing jabs to check people, or very occasionally characters will be able to combo from them to get something, but that's not common. What this essentially means now is that because the hit stun on them is increased on counter hit, it means if you check someone with a jab as a frame trap, then you can actually get full confirms off of just checking people, which is big for a lot of characters, especially Anji, who's really fucking bad. But essentially, what we're expecting from season 2 is that's a huge change that's going to help a lot of characters. And there's going to be a whole lot of characters that I feel are going to be getting a lot of buffs. Because essentially, with my opinion on Guilty Gear Strive right now, is you have certain characters who have game plans that feel really fleshed out, and you have these characters like Happy Chaos and Gold Lewis and Soul, and usually a lot of the stronger characters I feel that have game plans that feel very fleshed out, and they really, really excel at doing one thing very, very, very well, or they kind of just excel at playing Strive, if that makes sense. Whereas you have other characters like Anji, Jacko, like Faust, where I feel like a lot of these like lower tier characters, or Testament even, yeah, and Testament as well, where a lot of the time it feels like they're being tuned to play Strive, but just not as well as a lot of these higher tier characters. And a lot of that just feels that they aren't playing the game as well. Like their game plan doesn't feel as defined as characters like Happy Chaos or even like Gold Lewis, where a lot of people will tell you Gold Lewis is not a very, very good character on paper if you look at the entirety of his matchup spreads, but he has some matchups that are incredibly oppressive, and he feels like a very, very complete character because it's one of those things of he swings the coffin at you. It's like, oh, this is plus frames. Okay, now I can just kind of run shit. And like, that's his whole shtick. And like, that's kind of the thing I want to see from season 2 is less so like, oh, give a character a shit ton of buffs just because they're weak, or give a character a shit ton of nerfs because they're strong. I'm wanting to see them take characters like Jacko or Anji or Testament and give them more cool stuff. Give them stuff that makes these characters feel really, really unique rather than just making them like more blanket strong in terms of just being like, they can play the game well. Like, because that's the thing that Guilty Gear's always been really good at is character diversity. And that's something that like, I feel Strive kind of lacks a bit. But from like some of the changes that they've already shown with season 2 in terms of like some new dash cancel things, the new changes to some counter hit stop and a few other things, just from that one little bit, they're already showing that they're taking a lot of the problems that the game has had at heart. And they're like, okay, we're going to see what we can do about this. So Strive season 2 has me very hopeful that it's something I might hop back into to actually taking a little more seriously, because at the moment, the game that I've been taking seriously more than anything else is Melty. And even then, that still probably won't change no matter how good Strive gets, because Melty just feels like the shit. But in general, if I could find more enjoyment out of playing Strive, I would be like, yeah, I'm about that. So that's basically how I spent my weekend, and that's how everything has been going in terms of news for things I give a shit about.
Yeah. I mean, I feel bad because, you know, I'm in that weird place where basically you're talking about Combo Breaker. Lana's talking, you know, she went to YCS Hartford, and I'm just like, which one do I watch? Because I could watch either.
I did not watch YCS Hartford.
I watched a little bit of YCS Hartford. I saw some of the memes.
0 seconds of YCS Hartford. I refuse.
I don't blame you.
It's
It's not worth it. I think the only thing that's worth seeing is the one clip of day 2, round 10. It was there was just some really bad manners from one of the players that, as a PSA, do not, and I mean do not, declare the effect of a monster and like declare your target and then take it back because you made a mistake. Never do that. Yeah. Also another thing that he did that was just very wrong. You know, if you get in trouble for doing that, don't double down on it and say some dumb
give me
shit.
a little context here. Like, what exactly are you talking about?
so for as context as to what happened, one of them was playing Despia, the other one was playing Oh God, I forget the other deck. Lana, do you happen to know what it was?
No.
Okay, that's fine. I remember the interaction. Basically, they were trying to negate an effect, and they either had this one synchro monster that they wanted to negate, or it was the Axis Kotaker. They should have negated the Axis Kotaker, but they touched the other card and said, "I want to target this." Wait, no, I want to do Axis Kotaker after reading Axis Code. And then the opponent was just like, "You already declared Master Flare," and he's just, "No, I didn't say the name," and he said Master Flare. And like he said Master Flare and he touched the card. So it's like, no, you declared Master Flare. After that, the judges were like, well, you kind of have to say Master Flare. Either way, the opponent didn't have enough link monsters in grave to activate Access Code effect to banish and send cards. So they just went to game 3. He shouldn't have lost that duel, but he did because of that decision. Game 3 happens. And basically, they had enough time to decide, and then they had like 5 minutes left to play the round 3. Turn 1 happens. The opponent, I believe he had, because of the deck he was playing, it does burn damage to himself. Oh, he was playing Punk. He activated, I believe it was Deer Note. Deer Note takes away, it was like 600, 800?
Like 600 life
points. 600
points,
life points. Yeah. He activated Deer Note, took away 600, and then it felt like he was, because he was turn player, he's just like, I'm going to proceed to end. No. And the opponent, the one who was being rude, basically said to him like, oh, actually you said proceed to end. Never mind, I'm not going to do you dirty like you did me. And like I forgot to mention, when that thing happened with the Access Kotaker, his response to being told, oh yeah, you have to play it through, was if that's how you want to get your top, then that's how we're going to do it. Never say that to anybody in any tournament ever. That's just bad manners, period.
This dude,
like he was so salty. And it's like, again, this is on stream, like on their Twitch stream, and it's at the finals of this YCS. Like, what are you doing?
Were these guys mic'd up?
Yes. That's the thing. They were mic'd up, so like everyone heard you. The entire Twitch chat was so mad that he even got the game 2. They were like, he didn't deserve it.
Yeah.
And then he wins game 3 because the opponent has less life points.
My soul is leaving my body.
Oh, the other thing is, when the opponent finally ended their turn, he purposely slow played for the last 2 minutes to make sure he won.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, I probably would have also purposely slow played.
Yeah, but it's like he was literally going and spending 30 seconds each reading every single card his opponent had. Like, yeah, no, you're being a dick.
Yeah, that's what you do.
That's here's the thing. Everything else in terms of being a dick, in terms of like, saying that shitty shit. Yeah, no, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, do you know that he couldn't optimally extend the game state?
He couldn't.
Like at all?
No.
Not a single card in his hand was playable.
I think there was this weird interaction where, I don't know, he was basically just trying to like stall for time.
Well, he couldn't. You don't think he could normal summon a monster and enter battle phase, and
not with the board that his opponent ended on.
Okay.
So it was like, it's like, okay, well, I've got 2 minutes just to sit here and look at my cards, shuffle my hand for a little bit, and then read my opponent's cards. Just doing that, activating. I think in like normal summon Alibur or something. Just something. It was dumb.
It's kind of weighted out.
It was just bad. Aside from that, the other major thing that everybody's mad about, Sky Striker won, but not because Sky Striker won, because it wasn't Sky Striker. It was Mystic Mine Turbo.
Yeah, it wasn't Sky Striker, but like Sky Striker is the deck that can benefit from playing Mystic Mine Turbo.
Yeah.
It did when it didn't have Engage. It did before Engage left. Like it's what it is. The deck looks pretty solid. There were some cards in there that I disagree with, but like they make sense. If that's the name of the game you're playing. There's a lot of people calling for things like Mystic Mine to be banned. I think that Mystic Mine should have been banned a long time ago, but it's not. And it's not really as bad as people say it is, but it does suck that like a lot of players have to play a like more inconsistent way of playing the game solely because a spell card exists that like should have probably never been printed.
Yeah, because in all fairness, it's not like the TCG is going to adopt some of the gentleman rules that the OCG has, where they will literally go and say, we just don't play Mystic Mine here, period. We're not going to play the card. And then some other places do a thing where, it's like if they have Mystic Mine in the deck and then the person says, I will side out my Mystic Mine if you side out your Mystic Mine, and they both agree on
That's
it.
less of a rule though, and that's more of a soft ban.
That's a gentleman's agreement.
That's not exactly a rule though.
And it's
I'm
not
just
a
saying that
rule,
like
guy.
there's no way the TCG is going to like have those gentlemen's agreements. The OCG, and I think from what I hear, like EU does it a little bit, but like America, like NA,
You're looking
TCG,
for sportsmanship in fake places. This is the world of Yu-Gi-Oh, Kai.
Yeah,
People don't have gentlemen's agreements. People play the cards.
Also, I'm going to be 100% real with you, Kai. Once you hit nationals or like shit that's going to be going to nationals, no, none of that shit. You play to win.
Obviously.
Yeah.
You play to win.
7 years ago, Patrick Hoban side decked one Jin releaser of rituals and main decked one Jin releaser of rituals and sided one in after making a gentleman's agreement to side out all of their main deck Jins with their opponent.
I remember hearing about that.
This is not a new thing. It's not because of TCG. It's not because of OCG, and it's certainly not because of EU. It's because Yu-Gi-Oh players and all TCG players are always going to try and get any advantage that they ever possibly can. And if the way that they're going to do it is by playing 9 Mystic Mine targets and making sure that your opponent can't play the game because they plussed less than you did or weren't able to hold out underneath a lock while you waited until you had enough resources to outgrind them for the rest of the round, then it is their fault that they were not able to beat that. Alternatively, I do not think that the game should have that baked in. It's not because Konami made some stupid choices about like something. It's because Mystic Mine is underrepresented in Konami's events, and therefore it does not get a place. It has only recently become an issue, and a lot of that is probably because now we don't have DPE or Draco back regularing things to deal with it. Alternatively, there were adventure Eldritch decks and the like that were playing cards that could have dealt with Mystic Mine, and they just didn't meet this person in bracket. Or if they did meet this person in bracket, they met them in Swiss, and then they were killed by another deck that was probably better, like Despia. It's not because this Mystic Mine player got lucky, or they outgrinded somebody in a game that they probably weren't going to generally win in the matchup, and or someone made some sort of mistake along the way that made their record a little better. This happens all the time, and this player is probably pretty fire when they're not playing decks with some sort of strategy that I personally would consider degenerate. But I'm not the word of law in Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm not a great player. Like, I'm not somebody who makes like the decisions like that. So I don't think that I should be the one that makes any judgments about people who are winning events when I'm not, and I'm sitting at home.
Right.
The only place I feel you should be making judgments overall for stuff like this is it's like, oh, hey, someone's being a shithead after they made a mistake and wouldn't own up to it.
Yeah, that guy's demeanor was shitty.
Yeah.
Like that guy, that dude who was like making like rude remarks at their opponent. Like, yeah, that guy probably should have been a little bit more disciplined. But he didn't need to get like called when he made a call like that. If the call was immediate, if the call wasn't immediate, then the guy should grow up.
The call was immediate. The only thing that was weird is they had a weird thing in game 1 where he activated Dark Ruler it was game 2 where he activated Dark Ruler No More, and the announcers had an old version of his deck list where he miswrote Dark Ruler No More as
the deck list discrepancy. Yeah, I don't want to get into the deck list discrepancy. I don't have enough information on that.
Yeah,
there's been a lot of information thrown around on Facebook about that, so I don't have any input. I do know that Sky Striker won the event, and I do know that this guy was rude on stream. Those are two things I do know.
Yeah, because otherwise, from what I've heard, the event was fantastic. Like apparently the other weird thing is that some of the side events had better pricing than the main event. That was the only stipulation that I heard that was like a bit weird.
Sponsorship stuff can kind of do that sometime, but like overall, like fucking. I still just can't get over people being shitty like that. And there are a few stories like that actually also happened like during Combo Breaker. Mm-hmm. But for the sake of my own sanity and also not platforming people that I think are shitheads, punk, in general, I'm not going to go into that. I'm not going to talk about that. Instead, there are other better things I feel that we could talk about.
Yeah. Well, real quick, going back into the, like Combo Breaker and FGC, we got a trailer a little bit ago for the alpha release of Black Dahlia and Skullgirls. Seeing a lot of her animations, and like she looks fantastic. I'm honestly going to give this character a shot. If you're watching this now when it comes out, she is being released to the alpha on Steam in June of 2022, this month. So she's probably out right now if you have the alpha build.
And like I always like how transparent what is it, Autumn Games?
I think they're under wait, it's Future Club. It's Future Club is their studio now, and then it's Marvelous AQL, I believe, does their distribution.
So there's the one thing about Future Club that I really, really like. It's that their way of development is very transparent to the point where they're willing to actually release alpha builds with like unfinished animations and whatnot to get opinions from people, and also generally like be like, hey, this is where things are going. This is what we're doing. And like, it's been a huge step up, I feel, ever since, Mike Z was booted for being a shithead.
Nah, fuck that guy.
Fuck honestly. That guy. I hate Mike Z. All of my homies hate Mike Z.
All my homies hate Mike Z. Like, I'm not gonna get into it, but after all the shit with Bunny, I'm just like, no, fuck that guy.
But in general, like, I know Black Dahlia looks cool. I still don't play Skullgirls, and you would have to pay me a large sum of money to make me
I think the closest way to make Nick play Skullgirls is, essentially being like, oh yeah, Annie is just sole bad guy, and you might pick up the game once and then leave.
No, you'd have to chain me down to play Skullgirls.
Okay, that's fair.
Like, I really do not like Skullgirls in terms of, like, a big part of it for me, and this is going to sound weird, it's the hit stop.
Right, yeah.
Hits don't feel like they have a lot of impact. And that annoys me on like an aesthetic level. And so it turns into, I'm just not big on the game. And there's a few other things that I don't like in terms of essentially like the way the mechanics work, in terms of you have like infinite prevention system. And it's like, oh, hey, yeah, like you want to build like weird fake combos into your string so that you can bait the infinite prevention shit. So that way you can like bait that burst essentially and then go in for like an extended reset. And I'm over here just like, there's just a lot of the dynamics in Skullgirls that, while I'm not going to say they're bad, because I don't think they're bad, I don't really like them that much.
Is it more like it's just not the kind of thing you're looking for in a fighting game, or exactly like a team fighter? Because I would assume that you as team fighters go, you would prefer to play like KOF or Marvel.
If we're talking like team based, as in like team fighters, because I don't consider KOF a team fighter. It's a team game, but not in the same way as like a team game.
Yeah, because it's like you basically have 3 characters and 3 life bars. But I'm thinking in the sense that like you choose multiple characters and you have to know how to play every single one of those characters to play like properly.
Yeah, essentially it's like a game with assists and whatnot. In a game with assists, I'm not big on Skullgirls. I'd probably play either DBFZ or Marvel 3. Or even maybe TVC, because TVC is actually a really dope game.
Oh, TVC? God, I have been advocating on Twitter now and again. I will just come out of the ether and I'll post the intro and I'll say I want a remake of this game. I want a remake.
You'll never come back to
of
fighters,
some kind.
man.
Tatsunoko versus Capcom. Give us this game in HD. I need it.
Come back to fighters, Nick. We've got Lab Coat 21 and
that's pretty much it, right?
Delay based net code.
Yeah, we've got that too.
Yeah. Here's the thing, I'd come back to the game if the net code wasn't dog shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're also an Arc Systems game.
It feels so weird that a lot of these fighting games do not have like the same netcode. I assume like at some point or another it's possible to take like GGPO, for example, and implement it into your game.
Game design is not that easy. That is one of those things where you have to have it from the ground up. And essentially, long story short, is a lot of companies were like, and this is just a cultural thing, where it's like a lot of Japanese companies are like, oh, we can make the thing on our own. It works fine in Japan and we don't really need to change up what we're doing. And they're just like, okay, yeah, we're going to do the thing that we know works. The issue is it doesn't work outside of Japan. And so people kept complaining until finally Strive's coming out. There's a delay-based beta, everyone's like, look, you have to switch to rollback, and then everyone's like, okay, we're gonna switch to rollback. God bless Chase Magic wherever you are. But essentially, that got implemented, and then that got everyone super hyped for the game. And then at that point is when everyone realized, oh, hey, netcode's very important for your game. And that's why we're seeing this kind of big deal where a lot of people are trying to go back to older games to implement save states. So that way, because essentially the way that rollback works is it's a series of save states. And it's like if something is wrong and the states don't match up, it goes back to a previous state and then like recorrects the game to where it's supposed to be for both sides.
Yeah,
and
I remember I saw somebody messing around with adding save states to Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, right?
Yes. It was the same person that modded Sin into Strive. And she added in save states for Xrd and Grand Blue. So essentially
That's
at this
cool.
point, rollback is possible for both of those games. Only time will tell at this point. But if either of those games get rollback, I'm going to shit my pants right here live on this podcast. And you will have to smell it firsthand through the magic that is 4-dimensional speakers.
Why don't we just all like get Yuzu and just grind out Steve games? Just get really good at one Steve. Exactly.
No.
We'll get so many viewers that like Minecraft.
I will only play Pit if I have to play Smash Ultimate. Please understand.
Well, then you need to grind with Steve because we're getting Minecraft audience.
Oh God,
Yeah.
there's only one audience.
Closing the discussion about netcode. I think that because of the pandemic and everything, that's what kind of started the boom of making netcode important, because people are just playing online. There's not a lot of in-person events. We're starting to get more into them now because we're opening up the countries a little bit.
Yeah.
Precisely.
So hopefully, like, they still see the importance of the netcode even if we're opening up.
Hopefully, people still see the
100%,
value of the grind, because the grind was something that also happened while everyone was inside their houses. Everyone grinded it out.
Right.
Got better at the games.
And like most companies at this point are like, oh yeah, we need rollback in our games. Like Bandai Namco is still kind of iffy on it, but Harada is slowly opening up his crusty old dead heart. Capcom knows at this point that they have to do it because they got to try to please as many people as possible. Which, to be fair, MVCI had some like incredibly good rollback netcode. It's just that everything else about MVCI in terms of aesthetic was poopy dog water, and it made me sad.
Yeah, it wasn't a great game.
That game,
I will not say that. It is a good game. It just looks awful. Like aesthetically,
that's what turned me
so
off
ugly.
of it. Honestly, it's just the visuals of that game it didn't feel right. Like looking at the original games coming up against that, it's like I don't know if I personally liked the direction they went, and that's what turned me off of it. I didn't even try it.
There's a really long story.
Gameplay wise, I really didn't like MVCI because I was expecting like Marvel 3 too.
No. It's a completely different kind of game.
I know. It's just like I don't know. I didn't have any fun when I played it.
Like, it's one of these things where I think that game overall is actually really, really cool. It's just there was a whole lot working against it, and at the end of the day, like, people can always say, oh, I don't care about graphics, I care about gameplay, but a lot of what makes fighting games cool is spectacle. And if spectacle isn't really there for your fighting game in some way, like, it's not going to have a lot of staying power, as shitty as that is to say.
Yes.
And it didn't have that spectacle because the game was just not pretty to look at. And so it just kind of floundered, which is disappointing to me. But that's enough about Marvel Infinite. I could talk about fighting games all day and all night, but we would need another podcast, I think, to do that if I wanted to keep doing it and never stop.
That's true.
But there's other games that we need to talk about.
Yeah, another game where you're fighting for your life.
Another game where the viewers are fighting for their life, actually.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Tomodachi Watch.
I honestly thought we were dropping this. I really did.
No, we're welcome to the Lana cut. We're gonna get through this. We're gonna get through this quick. We're gonna get through this painlessly, and then we're gonna move on to the next show. No questions about it. When I say we're moving on, we're moving on.
I'm just going to say real quick, it makes me sad now because these are episodes I would actually want to talk about because like the things that actually happened in this last episode that I saw, It's so good.
I will call for a temporary ceasefire on the Lana cut when we finish game 3.
Okay.
We can talk about everything that happened in game 3 once you have met the greatest character in Tomodachi Game.
All I know is that at the moment, Tenji is my goat. Yuichi is also my goat.
Until the end of this game, the very end of this game, you're going to realize who your real goat is, and it is nobody on our protagonist's team.
It will be Yuichi. I'm going to say it right now because I like my dudes being having that little spice called problematic.
I'm very
Listen,
I know you
understand. You just like Adachi, okay?
I'm very excited for episode 10 of Tomodachi Game. Personally, I think that episode is going to change everything for both of you.
After seeing 9 today, like for context, 9 came out today when we're recording this, so that's why we're really going to talk about it. But after seeing 9, oh my, I'm so excited to see 10. I'm so excited to see 10. I shouldn't be
excited for an episode
I know,
of Tomodachi Game.
But here's the thing: I'm not excited to see Tomodachi Game visually. I'm not excited to see it. I'm excited to experience it because
You're excited to finish it.
Yes, because now here's the thing: if I was a madman, I'd read the manga because that's exactly what I would need. Because
that's what I did.
Because I'll tell you right now, this adaptation we're getting, just I'm not going to harp on it, but basically, like I feel like the adaptation is a little bit scuffed. Just
it really sucks. It really sucks because like it's not scuffed. It's exactly what happens.
Yeah, it's more or less just how the direction of how it's presented and some of the drawings, some of the in betweens. Amu, if you happen to grab that in between, I sent to Nick and Lana of this really screwed up head and face. I just happened to pause at like. It's bad. So,
Tomodachi Game, episode 8. It's basically like the third game has started, and it's a game of hide and seek, and they've got to beat Kuroko no Game people, like so
or as I like to call them, the unified front of virgins.
Yeah, so the Virgin team, they're going up against the second Virgin team, which is Tenji and Yuichi. Because remember, Tenji's a stalker and Yuichi's a psychopath.
I would argue that the captain on the other team, the captain, he's fucked.
He is not. He's
built. He's so huge.
He's so as fuck.
He's massive, but he's a nice boy. He's a good boy.
Yeah, he's so.
So Tomodachi Game,
you say so.
In the manga, faked me out on that guy one time, but we'll get to that in about 11 episodes.
Oh boy!
So Tenji is the one who is holding the give up button because Yuichi said, "If you don't do what I fucking say, Tenji, I'm gonna fucking kill you." Tenji was like, "Yeah, you're the guy who's gonna get revenge on Shiho for me, right?" And Yuichi's like, "I mean, I'll get revenge for whoever killed your father. If it's Shiho, then yeah, dude. As long as you help me through, as long as you stay with me through this fucking game." And Tenji is just like, "All right, that sounds good. I'll take this button and I'm gonna go hide." And Maria is her name, the Junko Enoshima XP.
Yes.
The Junko Enoshima XP has joined the ranks, and we know that they're a member of the higher ups in the Tomodachi Game group, and they don't know yet. And she's like, and basically Yuichi's like, "Can I use you as my puppet?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure, dude, I love that shit." And then Yuichi's just like, "All right, let's win this game. This is gonna be fucking awesome. We're gonna be so cool after this is over." And she's like, "Yay, chaos, haha!" Because she's like the worst version of the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy Chaos Woman. And then Tenji just lays there with no food for like 3 days.
Yeah.
And he gets a phone call and he's like, "Yuichi, I'm so hungry, dude. I haven't eaten in like 6 days." And Yuichi, and it's the other team because everyone has cell phones and can call each other at any time, which is totally whack, by the way, in my opinion. totally fucked up. And so, because Yuichi could just at least call and be like, "Hey, Tenji, I'm coming."
Well, okay, there's a reason why he can't do that though.
I know.
We'll get to that.
But we'll get to that. So Tenji is just like, "Where's Yuichi?" And it's like he's just been sitting there eating bread and talking shit about you and your friends. You guys suck. and Tenji's just like, "Oh shit, Yuichi's not coming. I should press this button right now." And then he flashes back, and he's like, and it flashes back like, and you can make my voice echo here if you want. "Tenji, if you press that button, I'm gonna fucking kill you." And he's like, "I won't press the button. Yuichi promised." So he's just fucking suffering. And I'll get into this more after episode 9 and after Nick's caught up. But let's just end it with him being like, "I'm suffering," and then so you can betray if you're not the hider to the other team and help them win. Manabu goes through the rules as to like how that's a benefit to you eventually.
Mhm.
But you can't harm anyone that's not on your team, which is a very important thing. There's no violence, so they can't attack Yuichi and the girl, and Yuichi can't attack them. And the episode just ends with Yuichi going like, "I'd like to betray over to your group."
Okay, hang on. So what you're telling me is Yuichi goes over to their team, so he's technically on their team so that he can punch and kick the shit out of them.
I guess that was his plan, but we're left on a cliffhanger. So
yeah,
we
I'm
don't-
going
we
to
don't know.
assume that that's the plan.
and that's the end of that episode. That's it. That's
the end of episode
everything.
8,
Happened.
yeah.
There's
It just
one
ends
thing
with
I
him
want to
being
bring
dead.
up that I think is really, really funny because you're mentioning because the big part with this episode is you're just seeing Tenji like wallowing in the cave, being like, "Oh, I'm so hungry and I'm pissing and shitting myself."
I'm gonna fucking die. I'm like, I can't leave here because I promised Yuichi I wouldn't move, and I can't move. So like, I really gotta pee, but I'm dehydrated.
Tenji's over here just like, "Man, I can't stop sharding, man.
But
But
fucking die, dude.
I'm gonna like die. I could use a Scooby snack." And then all of a sudden, you see Yuichi appear from over the cliffside. He's like, "Huh, sorry to keep you waiting, huh?" And he's like, "Yuichi, you came." And then all of a sudden, people are looking at the monitor and they're like, "What the fuck is Tenji doing?" And
Yeah,
he's
the big
just
kitty girls are there.
hallucinating
Yeah.
from hunger,
Yeah,
being like
yeah,
talking to imaginary Yuichi. He's like, "This rice ball is so good, dude."
Yeah, I didn't know if that part happened in that. I was gonna wait until the
It
next
did,
episode to
yeah.
talk about that.
It's so
Okay, good.
That's the best
So-
part of the episode.
So remember 3 episodes ago when Tenji was evil?
Yeah. Now
So now
a
he's not-
jobber.
So now he's a jobber already. He's the biggest
Absolutely.
jobber of all time. They've jobbed him so incredibly because they know that he's just like mid-boss from Disgaea.
Oh my god.
And they were just like, "Man, Tenji sucks. We gotta
Why
we gotta
can't
make
they
this
do this to John Cena?
like in WWE."
Yes, do
He's
this
not
to
a-
John Cena.
Nick, they killed John Cena. He's dead.
Wait, what?
John Cena died in WWE canon 2 years ago. He's been gone for a while. That's why you don't see him anymore. For real.
What?
We should watch that match. That's
Is-
real anime.
Oh man.
Is that why he's doing TV now?
No, he was already doing that, and then he came back for Mania, and Bray Wyatt killed him.
I just
It was-
love Nick just slumping down in his chair like my entire life is just changed by the fact that wait, John Cena's been dead for 2 years.
Yeah, John Cena, the WWE superstar, has been dead for a while. They wrote him back on TV for one SummerSlam, and then he was gone again. But they wrote him back kind of weird, and Bray Wyatt had already been fired by then. It's a whole thing. Anyway, we can talk about that another time.
That will be
The
on
point is-
that will be on the wrestling special on episode 13.
That sounds good.
Nice.
Let's do it.
Is that where I sit you guys down? We watch Creator Clash and we can go over that.
Oh my god.
Dude, if anything, we need to like. I really want to talk about Michael Reeves versus Graham Norton. That's the best fight.
It sounds so cringe, though.
No, Nick, trust me. It's so also fucking Ryan McGee's fight. The man's a trooper. It's great.
You'll have to show me at some point, and then I will decide with the council if it is cringe or not.
This is the end of talking about Tomodachi Game. We're done.
Tomodachi side end. Please turn to disc 2.
Yeah,
disc
we're
2.
Done.
We've moved to Netflix. We're going to talk about a Netflix movie that came out a bit ago called Bubble, directed by it was written by Genro Bochi. The soundtrack is being done by Hiroyuki Sawano, and it's being animated by Studio Wit.
And we watched this in place of Jujutsu Kaisen because I'm on vacation right now, and that's why I'm on mobile.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easier for us to sit down and watch a movie and just kind of like vibe.
Yeah, Kaisen will probably end up returning next week when Lana gets back. But for now, we're talking about this movie, and I gotta say, going into this movie, I didn't know what I was going to expect. Coming from who it was, the studio that it was, the writers that they had. And seeing the trailer being like, this is such beautiful animation. I really want to see this film.
Now, hang on.
Okay.
I'm cutting you off here because you are not painting an accurate picture. There was some sabotage going on. I remember we were sitting down to watch Bubble. Kai comes into the Discord call.
Okay.
And he says, Lana, Nick, I can't wait for you all to see this movie. I want to see how much you all hate it. And I'm like, what?
So in my defense, I might as well, if you're going to bring this up, I'll talk about, how my opinion of this movie changed after watching it twice. So initially I watched this movie in English with my brother. We just watched together, and my opinion of the movie was, without anybody else's opinion, just watching the movie myself, I was like, that movie was a spectacle. The story was kind of weak, and like they kind of hit you over the head with its morals, and they were not subtle at all when it came to flashing back to something else to be like, this thing that happened like 5 minutes ago, now it's relevant. And it's like, you could have just not brought it up and we would have understood. But
but like so like I'll agree with you on that. The story in the movie is relatively weak, but I think that like the cinematography and like how the cinematography was done was evidence that the movie did not care how strong or weak it was, because its message was clear and concise.
Yes. We were talking about this before. But like it did feel like the movie kind of needed to be that exposition heavy with a lot of the way it was telling the story, simply because it's a movie not for the sake of the story they wanted to tell. It is
the
a
world
movie
does
that is
assume
a spectacle.
That a couple things though,
yeah.
Which is good. It's good.
Which like to me is like, when we were watching this movie, we were watching it like the three of us and our friend Emily, and I know that like a lot of the time the movie would like repeat itself a lot, and it makes it so that if you're watching it casually, if you're just watching it for like the visual of ooh cool parkour, you don't have to follow along all that much. But you'll still get it because like they'll repeat it and be like, okay, this is where we're at, and then they would go off and do something, another parkour game.
Also, the characters don't change character very much. Like the characters don't go through a substantial amount of development, except for the protagonist, who doesn't go through a substantial amount of development. He just goes through like a normally paced amount of development for like how long the movie is.
It's more.
Like,
I think the only development he really had is that he goes from being completely unresponsive to the rest of his team and just being their star player to actually communicating with them. And at the end of the movie, he actually comes in, and when they do the all hands in before they start, he actually comes in and like goes into the circle.
But like, we're getting to the point now where we're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, if you want to.
Yeah. Because like we're getting to the point now where we're talking about narrative stuff, and we haven't even talked about the movie itself in terms of the premise and everything.
Yeah. So Nick, you can take it from here then.
Yeah. So basically, the way this movie starts out is you are essentially being part of a parkour game for the most part, and there's a bit of exposition going on where what essentially happened is, as normal, Tokyo has been exploded, this time not by any sort of act of war, But instead, one day some bubbles started falling from the sky, and everyone's like, that's kind of wild. And then all of a sudden, Tokyo is exploded and it is put into the bubble zone, as I will affectionately call it. And essentially, everything inside this section of Tokyo is this post-apocalyptic wasteland, completely covered in just water and bubbles. And there's this weird thing going on where there are certain sections of the inside of this domain, I can call it, I guess, where physics don't follow the same rules. And like, for example, gravity will change its axis. Like shit will just get like thrown around. The movie plays a lot with its setting in terms of gravity, which pairs a lot very well with the parkour setting that they're going with. But we'll get into that. Essentially,
specifically though, like the gravity thing, there's weird phenomena in this like bubble that they're in, and one of those things being there's these weird black holes called spider webs. And that is what Nick was referred to with like the weird gravity thing, where like, you know, they have their own gravitational pull, things are like being pulled into it, and they'll just, you know, disintegrate.
Yeah, and so essentially we open up with what is essentially a parkour game, and I feel like this is a really good opening to this film because the movie shows its hand immediately. It is, you're seeing a bunch of characters running past. They're not spending a whole bunch of time telling you this character is named this character is named this is what they do, this is what they do. You have funny kooky goggles kid, you have hothead, and you have baldy man, and a bunch of them are just running parkour, kind of yelling at each other, and you're just thrown into it, which is wonderful for a setting like this. And then all of a sudden, goggles kid being like, oh hey, I can fucking do this, because it's like it's a parkour match because a whole bunch of the buildings are submerged. You have to jump from building to building, and then there are the bubbles that are just all around Tokyo, which are solid enough to where you can jump on top of them, and it basically makes for this really cool platforming spectacle where someone will jump from a building, hop on top of a bubble, and then use that to gain ground. It's very video gamey. I'm big on it. I'm real big on it. And so the kid's like, I'm gonna do that, and he jumps on the bubble and he beefs it and like almost falls into a black hole. From there, we get our main character, Hibiki, who essentially saves his ass and he jumps around on the bubbles. And this is essentially a parkour capture the flag match between two teams. He hops in, he grabs the flag, he wins, he throws the flag onto the ground, and he fucking leaves without saying a goddamn word.
He just jumps off the building like it's nothing and just leaves. One thing I want to bring up though, before you go any further with the story, Nick, one thing that this movie has that is, you know, not common to movies. This movie has an OP.
Yes.
It does have an
OP
opening,
by Eve. I fucking love the fact that Eve's just getting more work between him having the Jujutsu Kaisen OP1 and this, and it's like, man, I'm happy for him.
It's like we didn't even not watch Jujutsu Kaisen, you know?
We basically watched Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm going to say right now, before I move on to my next point, normalize everything having an anime OP. Avengers as a film is like a solid 7. It would be a 9 if it had an anime opening.
That's true.
No cap.
I believe it.
Avengers would be a much better movie if it had an anime OP.
Well, so this kid is kind of a baller at parkour.
Yeah, and like the movie shows that very well in terms of there's a lot of, one of the things I want to say immediately about the strengths of this film is a lot of the shots that they take and a lot of the movement. It's a film based a whole lot around movement and parkour, and the camera accentuates that. The camera moves wildly along with the characters. The camera is usually always following a character. These characters are moving very fast, and then by extension, it causes the camera to take wild shakes, really steep changes in angle. And for me, it comes off as very kinetic. It comes off as very interesting, very motivated. For some other people that I know, it could come off as very disorienting, and I could totally see what people are coming from. That is one common complaint that I did see with the movie's action, is a lot of people would see that shit and they're like, this is so disorienting, I can't like tell what's going on a lot of the time. And I am a freak and I usually latch on to shit like that. But, that's one thing to keep in mind with this. But then there comes a scene afterward where he's going off to where Tokyo Tower is. Tokyo Tower is a very special place to this guy for the reason that, just to go into it real quick, on the day of the explosion, he was at Tokyo Tower staring at the window at all of the bubbles. Everything explodes, and he wakes up already rescued at ground zero. And at this point, we learn a little bit about this guy where, and this is very interesting, where he's sitting near Tokyo Tower and he's getting ready to scale it. And there's a shot that stood out to me where he's standing there, he takes off his headphones, and everything at that point sounded slightly muffled. Everything all of a sudden appears a lot more loud, a lot more sharp. And when he does this, you can look at him visually, and not only do you have the audio making the change to kind of accentuate that he had taken off his headphones, but there's a gust of like wind that kind of is meant to emulate the sound waves just pounding into Hibiki's body. And then suddenly everything gets brighter, and there's like this little bit of distortion that goes over him as he takes off his headphones. And you can tell immediately that he is used to just isolating himself. He does not want to deal with people. He doesn't want to talk to people. He wants to keep all of the excess noise out. It's kind of like The World Ends With You, but parkour. And like the way that they kind of accentuated that in just a single shot was very, very interesting to me. It's something I feel that like is a detail that you could easily miss. But
I also feel like you should note that like he kind of needs to keep these sounds, some of these sounds out by necessity.
yes, but we don't learn that until a little bit later.
No, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we don't end up touching on that until a little later because there's a little more to it than we can assume. But at this point, he starts scaling Tokyo Tower, and he has a personal best. He's essentially a speedrunner where he's like, okay, this is my PB. I've made it like 10 feet up. We're going to hit 15 feet today, baby. And so he starts jumping up the tower and fucks up super hard. He beefs it harder than Robert Pattinson beefing it in the Batman.
Oh, like when he hits the midpoint. Oh, he hits the car
and just kind of lamely limps away.
Oh my! I love that scene.
That's my favorite scene in the Batman, other than when the Riddler turns up to him, being like, "Wow, you're really stupid."
What about this isn't how this is supposed to go.
The Batman is a wonderful movie, and I love it so goddamn much.
I watched it yesterday before we watched the movie we watched.
Oh god, it's such a good movie. But
I haven't seen it yet, so I'm definitely gonna have to now.
Oh god,
I've seen it twice now. I recommend it.
I'm tempted to stream it to you all 3 fucking hours.
I'll do it if you do.
Oh fuck, I might. But Hibiki beefs it and falls into the water super hard after falling like 15 fucking feet. And he's just like, well, this is it. This is how I die. And then
so much happens. He gets hit by a friggin' motorcycle that's just, under the water. Then he gets like slammed by a train. His shirt gets caught on the train and it's flying through the water. Then he gets stuck in the train. He can't get out. He's starting to drown and he passes out.
It is this Uncharted looking shit. Like it is a fucking spectacle, and then Morbius comes out of nowhere.
No, we're not doing this. Veto.
I don't have the strength. I don't have the strength to talk about how Matt Smith turns into David Tennant and then kisses Andrew Garfield on the mouth.
Okay. I am going. Hang on. Okay, I've contained my inner morb. We're going to continue. So
thank you.
Oh my God.
Essentially, he is super drowning. He has like lost 25 seconds on his PB already. He's definitely not making world record. So he looks up And as happens when you're drowning, just kind of laying there. There's not much you can do when you're drowning. And then all of a sudden, you see some bubbles start to coalesce. And right next to those bubbles is this poster of what is essentially an idol, like a Japanese music idol. And she's dressed really weirdly, like asymmetrically, because that's a lot of idol culture, is like weird, poppy, asymmetrical outfits that stand out really well, that are like really, really colorful. And so the bubbles all coalesce together and they form a girl, essentially. And this girl is like basically dressed in ridiculously. There's no symmetry. Like, I know when we were talking about it, this is like the Merryweather, like Nintendo Switch Chan. And so Nintendo Switch Chan comes in and she's just like, wow. Because she doesn't talk, essentially. She can't really speak or anything, but she's just like, oh God, I got to save this kid. And the kid looks up and he's like, are you a mermaid? And so she runs up to him, immediately just starts blowing air into his mouth, complete CPR, bubbles flying everywhere, mass hysteria. And then the kid wakes up on like what is essentially the shore. Like, I don't know what I could call it, so I'm just going to call it the shore. And then the girl's just kind of waiting there, and he's just like, And there's one thing I around this point that really has me thinking, where it's like, when this shit happens, we're subjected to one of the problems that I feel I kind of have with the movie. It is that the aesthetic of this movie feels very disconnected. In that you will have moments that look like they are meant to be kinetic animated cell pieces, where it's like everything is moving. There's not a lot of like detail in the shading and such, but it's fine because it's not meant to look like a painting. And then you'll cut to an extreme close-up of a character that has this very painterly, almost bishoujo look.
Yeah, I think what I noticed is, and what makes it jarring is that if they were doing those for specifically extreme close-ups, because like, you know, they'll add like a little bit of like lip blush or like, you know, like extra highlights and just like a lot of gradients. Even if the character's moving a lot, they still track it and it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
But it kind of detracts from it, where it's like, it feels like a very unnecessary style shift. And like I said, if they were doing it as only extreme close-ups, where it's like, you know, you just see like the characters, like just their face and not like, you know, their full head or their shoulders, then it would probably be fine. But because you're doing it where it's like, you know, if you take the way Nick and I are framed, for example, like here, if they be like, you know, like a decent like medium shot, or sorry, a close-up shot, but it would be have all this extra detail for what seems to be no reason. It would be like, yeah, there'd be a little bit of emotional beat, but you didn't need to put that detail in. It just felt like you kind of did, because in the live action film, they would have looked like that.
See, I'm not even going to say it is because of that. This almost feels like a flex in terms of, this feels kind of similar to Final Fantasy VII, almost, if that makes sense.
Oh, just like Advent Children, or
no, the original Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because Final Fantasy VII is less of a video game and more of like this weird multimedia experiment, where you look at a lot of the environments, you look at the pre-rendered cutscenes versus the in-game stuff versus the battles. The style of everything changes constantly. And that reminds me of that, where it feels like you're having a bunch of creators that are working together, but they may have been kind of sanctioned off slightly from certain shots, or they gave people a lot of freedom to work on certain shots. And because of that, certain shots in the film vary stylistically wildly, where on one hand, it's really, really cool in a vacuum, but it looks strange when paired with everything else in the movie. It just doesn't fit stylistically a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just one of the things with the movie, where by the end, they had kind of gotten these shots to look a little more natural in terms of the way that they blended in with the environments and whatnot. But I know that throughout the movie, a lot of these glamour shots tend to be kind of awkward feeling a lot of the time. Like they come out of nowhere. But
alternatively, if you did like an abridged one shot of this or something, or like some sort of parody of this movie or something, you could instead of cutting to those shots, cut to like zoom ins and Chowder, or like or like in SpongeBob or Flapjack, and just freaking.
Oh my god!
It'd be the funniest fucking thing you ever did in your
Nick,
life.
can I do a soft pitch to you right now?
Yes.
We do a parody of Bubble. The one difference I want is every time Uda speaks, she just goes.
Yeah. Fuck. Oh, that's so fucked up.
You could put Pac-Man noises on it.
Ah!
Oh
my god.
But oh god, but so after all that happens, Hibiki wakes up and he's like, Whomstiv? And she's just like, ah. And so she's not saying shit because she doesn't really know how to say anything. And so he takes her to the boat where the parkour team kind of just chills. And we kind of learn a little from there that, yeah, Tokyo has been like quarantined off and people don't live there anymore. But you have people that will come in from the outside to do this parkour shit or do a bunch of other like seedier shit, essentially, where it's such a phenomenon happening that people feel the need that they want to be able to experience it. And I can agree with that. That's how you get a lot of shit. And so he goes back to the boat. He's like, hey, I found this girl. And then all of a sudden we are introduced to Makoto.
Oh boy.
Let me just tell you something right now. I have not been this down bad for a character, and I want to say at least a month.
Relax, bro.
No. No, I will not
As
relax.
Lana put it when we were watching the movie, it's like, calm down, dude. We get it. You like Velma Dinkley.
I do
down,
like
sir.
Velma
Just
Dinkley.
a drawing.
No, I will not calm down. Ma'am, I am down bad. Please understand. But essentially, we meet Makoto, and we are also introduced to Shin, who's voiced by Mamoru Miyano. And you can tell he's voiced by Mamoru Miyano because he does the shit, essentially. And like, they're good characters. I just really like Makoto, and the movie really likes Makoto because it's just there's some shots with Makoto. If I were given the freedom to talk about them the way I wanted to talk about them, we would get demonetized. So I'm not gonna do that. Anyway, so they're explaining kind of all of this exposition, and then Hibiki shows up and he's like, hey guys. And then they're just like, where have you been? He's like, I was drowning. They're like, oh, that sucks. Who's this? It's just some girl. And she's just like running around the boat and she's acting like a cat. And they're like, what the fuck is she doing? And she's just going around fucking shit up. Eventually, they realize that like, oh, she doesn't know how to talk. She's just like, she's feral, like literally feral. And so people start sitting down with her and like talking with her. And then over time, she starts kind of learning some stuff. And then Hibiki sits down with her and everyone's at the dinner table. And they're like, hey, what's this girl's name? And he's like, oh, I didn't fucking think of that. And then they're just like, you should have named her. And I'm over here just like, she's not just because she acted like a cat doesn't mean she's actually a cat.
Yeah. But you know, he just sits there and he's like, I heard her sing 4 notes. Nice name for Uta. You like that? Uta? Hibiki? Uta. Hibiki. Uta. Okay, your name's Uta.
And I'm over here being like, that's like naming a fucking dog Barker, or because he's essentially naming her singer or song, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? But whatever, live your life.
This guy's lazy. Just let him be lazy.
He's a lazy teen with no aspirations other than running really fast. So, other than me just being targeted by various shots of Makoto, there's a whole bunch of just like kind of drivel going on where they're like, oh, hey, the galaxy is in a bubble. And in fucking 4 billion years, the Milky Way will clash with the Andromeda galaxy and we will all be broken down at the molecular level and become a new set of stars, and everyone's just like, can we not talk about this? And they're just like, yeah, okay, existence or whatever. Like, we don't gotta worry about this. That's 4 million years away. And then it's around this point that we end up learning about Hibiki's problem, in that there's a reason he wears headphones and a reason why he does not like talking to people. And it is that he was born with audio hypersensitivity. And essentially, what that means is his sense of hearing has been cranked up to like 15, where he hears everything to such a degree that it causes him physical pain. His hearing is too good, essentially. And so he has to walk around with like these huge earmuffs that like essentially block out the sound of things. And like we're seeing like glimpses of into his childhood where he's just absolutely miserable having to deal with the fact that he just can't like listen to shit. And in general, like he's just having a bad time. Honestly, his backstory I actually really kind of relate to, because I've been a person that's always been kind of assaulted in terms of like loud noises. In terms of just like noise in general, I have a very hard time dealing with a lot of it. So like there will be points I'll be in like a Discord call and there's just too many people talking and I'm like, nope, can't fucking do this. I got to get the fuck out of here. And I will just leave shit without saying a word because my brain cannot physically handle the sheer amount of noise. I literally keep almost all of my applications down to like ridiculously low volumes because my ears are that goddamn sensitive. Now, though, we're introduced to my favorite part of the movie.
Oh boy.
The morticians.
Yeah.
I love these motherfuckers.
Okay. They are motherfuckers.
They're motherfuckers.
Absolutely motherfuckers.
Motherfuckers, fatherfuckers, just fuckers. So,
oh man.
These motherfuckers, their whole shtick is they're another parkour team, and essentially their whole shtick is they're like cybernetically enhanced, where they don't talk except through AI voice technology. They have super boots that let them jump super far. They're doing all of this technological bullshit to just goddamn cheat at
just
parkour.
Because they have sponsors. Because they stream their matches.
Yeah, so like it's really funny because they're streaming their matches, and these are matches where they will literally push people off of buildings into black holes, and I'm like, they're streaming killing people.
Yeah, they're the Tomodachi Game people, except without huge titties.
It is absolutely fucking wild. And so these guys, they're just like, okay, we're gonna fuck around with Hibiki and the gang. So they hop in on the boat, and Makoto's just there chilling by herself. And then the morticians are just like, hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. And it's this really cool shot where the person is reaching out to Makoto, and the camera is basically placed a little bit from below at Worm's Eye, and the camera's not zooming in, but the person is getting closer and closer and closer to the camera with their hand in front of them and their face getting closer. And it's a really nice shot, combined with the fact that their delivery with the AI is exactly the same every single time. So there's like no escalation to their emotion. So it comes off as very uncanny. It's super cool. But they kidnap Makoto, and they leave a Phantom Thief calling card being like, oh, if you want to get Makoto back, you got to play us at parkour. And I'm over here like, if you just asked them to parkour with you, they probably would have said yes. But
they needed to force them. But oh my God. I know you're fiending to talk about it, but how Uta reacts to hearing this, because it's like, you kidnapped Makoto, the girl who showed me the Little Mermaid and like taught me language and how the world works. Oh, you fucked up.
And so imagine you're playing Persona 5. You've just sent the calling card to Kamoshida. And then Kamoshida's like, oh, those phantom thieves. I'm going to show them what for. And he eats the calling card.
Oh my God.
That's what Uta does. Is she's so angry that Makoto has been kidnapped that she eats the calling card.
I just love how you picked Kamoshida and I guess it would be Kamoshida and then also Madarame and some other ones. But they said for Kamoshida and him, they posted multiple calling cards on the board, right?
And he just eats them all. It's an
all-you-can-eat. He just goes and eats them all.
It's an all-you-can-eat crime buffet, baby.
Yeah, with Ryuji's shitty logo in the first.
God. It's like Kamoshida's at the bulletin board. He's like, guys, I'm so hungry. Crime is delicious. My sins will nourish me. But
I hate that that's actually like on brand for him too, because in the boss fight, he's like eating girls.
God.
To gain health back.
Ugh.
Anyway, back to the movie. So Uta, as Nick was getting to, picture you're playing Persona 5. Uta just fucking takes the calling card and just eats it. And he goes, we are getting Makoto back.
And so at this point, they start doing the parkour game, and everything that I just described, where they're just like, oh yeah, we have sponsors, we're streaming and shit. And so the Morticians immediately fuck up like everyone in the team except for Uta and Hibiki. They're like shoving them into like the black holes and shit. And I'm like, you have sponsors? This is how you lose your sponsors. What are you sponsored by? The fucking dark web? They're sponsoring literal murder.
Yeah, they love the murdering people.
This is how you get canceled.
It gets the views. It gets the views.
Yeah.
This is how you get canceled. What are they sponsored by? Low tier God. Like, come on. But it's very silly. Like, the existence of the Morticians is my favorite thing in this movie. But to pull a CinemaSins, like, it's just, if you think about them slightly too much, where they're just like, yeah, we're streamers, we have sponsors, none of their shit would fly with like the most white bread of white bread corporate sponsors. And I'm over here just like, bro. I'm sorry, Lana. Please continue.
Yeah, they're just filming their own snuff film, and these sponsors really like giving them jet boots and Raid Shadow or Legends. You know, like
there it is.
That's all you need.
That's it. It's Raid Shadow Legends.
All you need is Raid Shadow Legends.
All you need is Raid Shadow Legends. You want to murder some innocent teens, throwing them into black holes? You know what else you can find in that black hole? Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends, you should totally sponsor us, by the way. I'd be down.
God.
But anyway,
that's what you want to pick for it.
But so at this point, Uta and Hibiki are really the only ones left. And then Uta does the thing that I love in anime, which is basically pulls a musical number where she's super duper synced up to the music that is being sang, and she's just like jumping on the bubbles and everything. The best thing that I could compare it to is fucking Symphogear, where she's like, okay, it's time to get shit done. I'm going to start singing. And she starts kicking the Morticians' asses super fucking hard. And then Hibiki looks up and he's like, you do that? And so his friend vaults him up, and then he starts jumping. And then there's this really cool segment where this is some Sakuga, where Hibiki and Uta are jumping side by side one another in perfect rhythm, in perfect sync, jumping around, kicking the Morticians' fucking asses. There comes to be a point where Uta jumps up high enough to scale a tower, and they're very, very close to getting to their flag in this capture the flag match. All of a sudden, one of the Morticians is trying to jump up to her to basically kick her off of a building and commit more live streamed murder. And she's just like, no, and just kicks this motherfucker. Their mask flies off, and you see that they have the most dead ass expression in their eyes. And then I turn to Lana and Kai, and I'm just like, Uta just killed this person.
Yeah.
This person is fucking dead. So essentially at this point, they have kicked evil in the face. They're falling to their doom. And then this is a very important part where Hibiki jumps up, and the only way that he's going to be able to reach the tower is if he grabs on to Uta. Grabs onto Uta, and then all of a sudden, you see a bunch of bubbles flowing from Uta, and you're like, wow, that's strange. Except the viewer doesn't actually think it's that strange, because the movie has essentially said, wow, isn't it weird that at the end of the story of the Little Mermaid, that she just ends up kind of turning into sea foam? Oh, I'm sorry. I think I just spoiled the book for you.
Yeah, it literally says like, oops, I guess that was a spoiler. And it's like, wow, thanks for telling us that if Uta touches Hibiki, she's going to turn to sea foam. So yeah, like when this happens, like Hibiki's trying to like boost Uta up so that she can get the flag. But in order to do that, she's got to grab onto his hand. So she just, she's like, all right, well, I got to do it. She, like, a mortician's jumping at her. She jumps off the mortician, grabs Hibiki's hand, and then flies up, losing her entire arm in the process.
But she grabs the flag. They win. It's sick. And then you end up cutting to later that night when they're on the boat. And they're having a party. They just won. Makoto's not kidnapped anymore. She's going feral.
Yeah. Also, during this scene of like, we're in the boat and they're celebrating, Netflix just flexed all their sponsorship money. There were just random like like well-known brands. There was like Coca-Cola, Sprite, Fanta, but then it was weird because like you had those brands, but then you also had like off-brand stuff of like Pringles that are clearly not Pringles.
They don't have everything, Kai.
Yeah, but it's also just weird when it's like, okay, so you can get the major ones, but then like other ones, okay, you can't get those.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just one of those things where a lot of sponsors just don't play ball sometimes, and that's just how it do be sometimes. But in general, it's like, you just look down, and I'm just fucking flabbergasted because all of a sudden I'm like, wait, why the fuck are these kids drinking Coca-Cola? What the fuck? And there's a part during the big parkour section with the morticians that I kind of left out, in that while they're running and such, Hibiki loses his headphones during the scramble to get to the flag. He's back on the boat now, and he's just like eating some cheese. He's chilling. He's being social with people. And then people look at him and they're like, you're not wearing your headphones? Oh, dude, I'm sorry. We're being a little too loud. And he's like, no, you're being just as loud as you normally are. It's totally fine. And like, that's when you realize that like something clicked, and he has kind of gotten over part of his audio hypersensitivity. It's kind of weird. It just happens. And like, there isn't a necessary reason for it happening other than the fact that like he has believed in himself and has become one with the heart of the cards. It's kind of weird, but at the same time, they're just like, we got to move the story along. And I'm like, you know what? I'll take it.
It's like, if you want to give it a reason, maybe it's because like, oh, he can hear the song of the bubbles, so like he's fine, I guess.
Yeah, there's no like actual like big explicit reason, so it's like, whatever. They're just trying to move the story along so that we can have more spectacle. And honestly, for a movie like this, I'm kind of fine with that.
Yeah, it's like, it's fine if this movie is just meant to be an animation flex, then like you watch it, you watch the movie. You don't need to think about the movie. You just watch it.
And the movie hasn't even like peaked yet.
And then
like there's still like the third act.
Oh
yeah. Which, speaking of that third act, Uta at this point has lost her arm, and she's kind of suffering a bit. She's gone up to Tokyo Tower by herself, and she's staring at it. And all of a sudden, she starts hearing the other bubbles calling to her. And we start moving from this very cool, subdued blue environment. Everything is peaceful. It's a nice, wonderful night. Into this nightmarish red tinged hellscape. Everything is wrong. All of the colors are distorted. And there's one thing about this movie that I saw one person in particular bring up the color design of this movie and how kind of wild and garish it sometimes looks. And thinking about it and seeing the movie, especially this scene in particular, is when it really clicked for me. A lot of the colors are overly highlighted, I feel. And I think that is because they're wanting to give it that reflective look of what these images would look like if they were being reflected and refracted inside of a bubble. And it leads to this shot in particular, where she's staring off into this nightmarescape. She's seeing the form of the bubbles come to her. And all of a sudden, it's very nightmarish. It's very, very tense. And all of a sudden, that shit basically, like, breaks away. And we come back to the boat. Shit's fucked. And then all of a sudden, people are like, oh, look at these readings. Oh, this is the second impact. Oh, no. And essentially...
Well, this is more like the third impact.
It was the second for this.
Yeah, well, in this case, this is the second time the bubbles are, going to explode. So second impact.
Third impact, if we're talking
yes,
Evangelion.
third impact, yes.
Yeah, and essentially, shit's going down really, really, really bad. The thing that happened in Tokyo is threatening to spread to the rest of the world. So if they don't stop this, Japan and everything else is about to get fucking leveled. And this is another thing about this movie that's kind of odd, is we go from, guys, we kind of beat the comical AI villains that talk like computers and jump around with jet boots that kidnapped Velma Dinkley to, like, Zoink Scoob, we gotta save the universe, man! Like, it goes from 0 to 100 so fucking fast.
And everybody steps up to the challenge, like everybody in the main team.
Immediately.
Oh yeah. Like he's like, I am going to the tower, and initially he's getting stopped by shit and everybody else, and he's like, okay, but like, come with me, and they all agree to go with him. And right before they're about to leave, right before they're about to leave to go on this mission, the morticians pop up for a second, and I know Nick loves this. I'll let you say it.
So the morticians show up and they're just like, hey, yo, you wanna buy our boots? And I'm over here just like, the world is literally ending and you're using it as the opportunity for a side hustle.
I mean, they gotta make a profit.
Sponsored shit that you were given. That is the most YouTuber fucking shit I've ever seen.
Well, they're not the best anymore, so they're not going to get as many sponsorships. So they need some money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm honestly surprised the kids had the money for it. TBQH.
Well, they probably have a lot of money. I think the problem that they have lately is resources.
That is true. And then, so we end up cutting to the parkour team, our Haikyuu-esque looking mishmash band of motherfuckers. And they end up all coming together. And then finally, Hibiki gets into the circle, and they're like, "Oh yeah, let's fucking go!" And they do the Power Rangers hand thing, and it's sick. And they're all friends. It's all the power of friendship. Come on, we can go to nationals. Except instead of going to nationals, we're saving the universe. This is literally what if Haikyuu was Dragon Ball Z?
Oh man.
What if Haikyuu had a Dragon Ball Z subplot?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what if Hinata had to hit the ball really hard, or Cell was going to kill Kageyama? But
so they then the choreography ensues, and like things start hitting the fan like really fast, and that's when their like coach shows up with a prosthetic automail.
And he starts, okay, this is actually really interesting to me. And it goes to show that there is a lot of it's very methodical how they choose to animate certain characters. Because with the normal cast, everyone moves very anime. if that makes sense. A lot of their movements look very cool. They look very fluid, right? Then we have the coach. His name's Shin. He moves with a heavy discipline, one that you would expect from a professional athlete. Where
he's also like twice their size and age, so
Yes.
like he has to make decisions knowing that his next decision could be his last.
and
Dude,
like
I love him. He's parkour Terry Fox.
he's
Great.
so cool. And like his back is like hella straight when he's moving. And like in general, he almost has like a slight hobble to him, but everything is very deliberate when he's moving. It makes his movements come off compared to the rest of the cast as very strange, but it makes them stand out. And I think it's really cool. And then there's a point where essentially they're like, okay, well, we got to get to the top of the tower. We learned that he lost his leg trying to get up to the top of the Tokyo Tower. And so he gets ready to vault. He's like, Hibiki, you can make it up that tower. I believe in you. And then Hibiki's like, yeah, okay. And so Hibiki jumps on this dude's legs. He propels himself up with the jets as Shin simultaneously propels him up with his legs, shattering his prosthetic leg in the process, in the one scene in this movie that made me pop off like a motherfucker. It was so cool. And they just like zoomies this kid up into what was essentially the Tokyo Tower. I almost called it the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
Into the Tokyo Tower.
He gets into the like the bubble where Uta is, and the second he gets into the bubble, like it's like, yeah, he made it in, and then the bubble, like everything fades away, and it's like, oh, all right, we're here, like Uta's right there. Okay, all right, we gotta go save Uta. And he's going to approach her. The entire time Uta's like fighting off these other bubbles that are trying to get her to like come back with them. And there's like this like blacked out version of what looks like Uta that is, I guess it's supposed to be, the symbolism of her sisters being
Yes.
like, you
It's
can't
dark
be with
Uta.
this. Yeah. Dark Uta.
Shadow Uta.
She's basically like dealing with that. And they're saying like, you can't be with this human because, Little Mermaid, basically.
Shadow Uta needs a nerf next patch.
Oh,
Yes,
absolutely.
Agreed.
So they're trying to convince her not to stay with Hibiki. Hibiki's approaching. The bubbles realizes this, and all of a sudden all the bubbles turn red and they start like charging at him. Hibiki's just dodging all these bubbles, and like, oh my gosh, just the flips he does is fantastic.
Fucking cool. There's a point where he gets, I forgot to mention this, there's a point where Hibiki gets Heavenly Potemkin busted by the bubbles.
That's after this.
Okay. But
Before that, he was very Ultra Instinct Sign Goku.
yes, he's being Goku. He's dodging a whole bunch of shit. And oh god, I remember he finally makes it to Uta. And he's like, oh, Uta, I want to make sure that you're okay and whatnot. And he grabs Uta and they start running, trying to get out of the Tokyo Tower. And then eventually they do make it out. But then the Tokyo Tower collapses, and in my brain, I'm just like, they got the Tokyo Tower. They got the fucking Tokyo Tower. Because my brain is fucking ruined at this point. And the bubbles get him real hard, and he just starts falling. And as he's falling, Uta's like, well, I'm probably gonna die. Because as Uta is holding on to her, she's just dissipating. And so, using everything she has left in her, she starts forming shapes and different, like, constructs out of the bubbles from her body, striking back at all of the ones that are trying to strike out at Hibiki and taking him out. And it is this absolutely wonderful spectacle. And I feel like that's just the big thing in this movie is everything ends up going from spectacle to spectacle to spectacle to spectacle. And it looks absolutely beautiful seeing all of this in motion. And then they fall into the water and it's the Kingdom Hearts 2 shot. And all of a sudden you're in Twilight Town.
Roxas was there. You are correct.
Yeah, Roxas was there. They went to go get sea salt ice cream, and no. So,
All right, so at that moment, like when you start, for some reason there's like you go to the usual spot, and when you're there, you guys are trying to find out like why people think that you're the thieves, and you find out that like people are trying to look for these items, but they can't say the name of the item because it's gone. They don't have them anymore. You go and then Cypher shows up, and there's like 3 weapons on the ground, and you just choose one of the 3 weapons. You got to beat Cypher. And then his friends make up a John for him after you beat him. So when the thief shows up, you just got to take him out, and you're just like, it's no good. And then suddenly a key shows up in your hand, and you just beat him, and you get 150 money.
Do you remember when Cypher called Hibiki a chicken wuss?
Yeah, and then showed undeniable proof that he totally owned us lamers.
And then Uta fucking dies.
Yeah, Uta does just immediately die at that moment.
It's really tragic. You can see the tears running down Cypher's face as he calls them chicken wusses, slowly walking away into the sunset.
Yeah. And then Rajin goes like, Cypher's feeling pretty shitty about that, you know? And then and then a tear runs down Vivi's eyes before her head immediately explodes.
Oh my gosh.
I can't believe Vivi's fucking dead.
So we come out of Kingdom Hearts. Hibiki takes Uta out of the water, and sees that her body is just bubbles. It's she has no arms. She's just a torso with a head. You can't even see her one eye, like it's just covered in sea foam. And he's screaming, being like, "Oh my god, are you okay?" She's fading away this whole time, still like reciting what happens in the Little Mermaid, being like, yeah, the princess wanted to be with the prince, but she turned to sea foam. And he's just trying to like take all these bubbles that are coming off her and try to push them back, but it's like, nope, not happening. She says bye, and then she fades away, and he starts screaming and crying her name.
And then after that, they just start living their lives, and everything goes back to normal.
Yeah,
and this movie is very by the books, with the subtlety of a jackhammer, and it's a very, very pretty spectacle of a movie. Like,
this movie was fine. I'll probably forget about it in the next foreseeable months.
Yeah, and like I think it was a fun watch overall. I think that in general, there's just I don't think it was trying to do anything more than be a pretty piece to appreciate just watching in your downtime. Like it is.
If you needed to recommend anime to somebody and you needed something that wasn't like totally cringe, then like this would probably be it.
Yeah, it's just pretty. It's just a nice sit down movie to just kind of chill with. Like, it's not going to change your life. It's not going to change your life. It's very likely not going to get someone who isn't into anime being like, oh man, anime is the medium I've been looking for my entire life.
It's not going to change your life unless your name is Nick and you see Makoto and you're like, ma'am, what is your phone number?
That is the first thing I said when I saw her.
That is verbatim. The first thing he said.
The first thing I said when I saw Makoto is, I'm just like, ma'am, what is your phone number? I love Makoto. Oh my god. Shout outs to girls built like Velma fucking Dinkley. God damn.
So that was it. Now
that was Bubble.
I didn't hate it.
I will say on my second watch through, it became, really apparent like how much they were flashing back to a lot of, scenes to just, hit you over the head with like, oh, remember this thing. That was my only gripe with the movie. Like, again, the movie is a spectacle. Like it's meant to be out, like you watch it. So
the movie also wasn't very complicated.
Yeah, there was a lot of like really high effort shots where they used a lot of like CG. And, like Nick had mentioned, the camera constantly moving, which, in a 2D space, moving the camera, like, believably is very difficult. Like, especially when, the background is moving in 3D space. Like, it's not just, like we're taking, a panoramic image and we're just moving around. Like, it's like there was physically, 3D space being moved through with, like, 2D drawings accommodating that camera movement.
Yeah, and like that type of movement, it's becoming more and more common in anime lately. You can see it a lot in shows like Jujutsu Kaisen. It's become very prominent in a lot of Ufotable works. I want to say honestly that Ufotable in general was one of the pioneer studios in really pushing this kind of like 2D 3D hybrid style. And in general, the fact that we're seeing more and more shit like this of 2D assets being tracked into 3D environments to get very believable camera movements that look absolutely gorgeous. Like, oh, fuck. The fact that shit like this is becoming more commonplace just gets me going, dude. But the bubble has finally popped.
All right.
And we get to move on now to Kongming.
Ya boy, Kongming. Oh boy. So if you don't remember where we left off with Kongming, you know, we were getting introduced to Nanami and the whole thing with you know, Azalea. I don't know if you would call it that or Azalea, whatever. I'll call it Azalea.
It's Azalea, I'm pretty sure.
We basically, this episode, we get the backstory of how Azalea was formed with Nanami and her two friends.
Yes, and for this, I would actually like to. There's a little bit going on with like Aiko goes to her producer, and she's like, "Man, my producer is still giving me shit, and she still wants to record, and he won't let her because he still doesn't feel like she's ready and whatnot." And in general, Aiko's still in kind of a slump. And there's like some stuff that goes on with Kbul that I'm not kind of gonna go into because it's very small stuff. There's one big thing that is the big theme of this episode that hit me like a fucking truck. And that is selling out. In that, essentially, the way that Azalea worked was it was a band formed by Nanami and her two high school friends. They're trying to form a band. They're playing the kind of rock music they want to play. And they're sitting down with each other being like, oh, what do we name our band? And then Nanami comes up with the greatest band name of all time, which is just Band.
Love Band.
Love those girls. God, that's the best band name. But no, they decide that Band, terrible band name. That's going to be our band name. So we get to take that legally. But they end up going with Azalea because it is a flower that is meant to symbolize the wonders of youth. And they debut at their high school talent show and they kill it. And then from there, they start moving from gig to gig, booking shit and trying to make it in the business. They know how to play. They know how to perform. They are professionals. They're top notch.
The biggest issue here is, you know, them getting these gigs. They all moved from the boonies to like the city. So them doing this and trying to, you know, make ends meet in the city is impossible because they're not getting enough people coming to their shows. They're not even breaking even. So they're sitting there like, man, we can't make any money. This is terrible. They get introduced to this manager guy and he says to them, okay, I would, you know, like sign you guys on, but you can't be doing rock music. It's not what's popular. You need to you know, adhere to the masses because rock is, you know, some people want rock, but that's not what people want to see out of you. They want idol music.
And essentially what's going on is he is hitting them with the reality. And I call it the reality because at the end of the day, as a content creator, it's something that hits me really hard in that when you start doing something that you want to be your main focus, your main career, the thing that you do to support yourself, you have to be willing to make some stuff that you might not want to make in order to make ends meet, in order to get that money going. And it turns into just soul-sucking, soul-crushing work. It's the worst. I absolutely hate when people have to be in positions like that. But Nanami, after seeing that they're going in the red constantly, she's seeing her bandmates suffering, decides, you know what? I'm going to take one for the team and I'm going to say we need to do this. So they sign
Yeah.
on with this producer.
It is worth mentioning. The first time they get proposed this offer, they say no. They're like, no, we can make it our way. We could do rock and be fine. And that's when it's like, they're all working like 3 jobs and being idols, and they're like, we're not making any money. Nanami just says, all right, fuck it. I gotta go back to him. We gotta just do what he wants. I'm sorry.
And the character acting for Nanami, in terms of like the expressions and shit that they draw for her, both when she's freaking out on this guy, telling him to fuck off, as well as when she's just bowing and pathetic and apologizing, like they really nailed the character acting with Nanami. It is absolutely phenomenal. And essentially, once they meet up with the producer, he's like, okay, you have to dress this way. You have to perform this way. It gets to the point when they're doing their live shows, they have to focus more on the dancing and lip syncing rather than actually performing the music, because that's just what you fucking do. That's the way it works, because a recorded performance is always going to sound better than an actual live performance. And if you can focus more on your dance choreo, then you're going to get a bunch of horny nerds going nuts. And they end up getting put into skimpier and skimpier outfits. And then finally, Nanami just feels ashamed. There are points when they're performing on stage and the camera ends up zeroing in on the various assets, I will call it, of these girls. And like, they're just going all in, that like, they feel ashamed. They feel ashamed because they don't want to be doing this.
Yeah.
They want to be playing rock music. They want to sing the music that comes directly from their hearts. And because of the fact that they don't know how to market themselves, they don't know how to find that audience that also wants to see what it is that they want to hear, they're stuck doing the thing that they know works. And that's the big thing I wanted to kind of touch on, is being able to market something and being able to perform it are 2 completely different skill sets. And it is absolutely grueling to have to go try to do something and finding an audience through trial and error. So in all honesty, I can see why they did it, why they sold out, because it means, oh, hey, we're going to have actual success and we're going to be able to eat. But now it's gotten so far that Nanami is just talking about all of this to Eiko. She breaks down to Eiko and is like, hey, I am Nanami. Surprise.
Yeah. No,
there's
this whole moment where, like, obviously it's obvious to everybody else, but like they Eiko and Nanami end up going up to the roof of this building, and to go and see like the sights. Nanami waits for this giant blimp that says Azalea on it to come by, and she goes like, I'm the lead singer of Azalea. Ja-ja!
It's so good.
It's so good. I think the one thing I wanted to mention really badly while you were going through like the whole thing with Nanami like regretting her decision.
Yeah.
The one thing that really hurt her the most is the fact that she has to hide her face. Because to her, that was like, I'm not even me. Like when I'm doing this, I'm not even showing out me. The only way I
she's
can
not
be
even
me,
like a content creator. She's just like a husk that's like supposed to be this persona that these people are supposed to admire.
Exactly. Like she's not even getting to show her soul. And it's that little bit of symbolism where she has the thing that she wants to do, but she has to hide that away to do the thing that works. And I think that just, it's very simple symbolism, obviously, but like it comes off as just very strong. Like,
it hits deep.
It's a good piece of fucking work. And it hits a point where Nanami is so deep in now that she can't afford to just up and quit and do the things that she wants to do, because one, she knows she's going to have a hard time being successful, but also she has staff working under her. She has people that produces her videos, people that produce and write her songs, people that put on the venue shit, like an entire collection of staff that without them don't have work. So she feels guilty that she doesn't want to do it, because if she doesn't do it, these people are out of jobs. So now at this point, she feels trapped. she can't do anything else. So she's just like, well, I guess I have to do this. And Eiko just goes into this little corner on the roof and begins singing the same song that she has been practicing with Nanami the entire time. All the while, you are hearing the voice within her head. And one of the big things that Steve told her when she was in the studio is that she still didn't have the reason why she wanted to perform. And at this point, Eiko finds it in that it is the populace. She wants to be able to sing songs and put on performances that can inspire people to go that one extra step further. It's a very simple inspiration. It's a very simple motivation, but sometimes that's really all you need. And for Eiko, that's what she wants to be for other people. She wants to be able to tell people that you can take that first step. You can go and do it. You just have to be able to believe.
Mm-hmm. That's the moment when the biggest question Steve put to her at this point, when, you know, it's like, okay, yeah, you found your voice, but also, like, what's your reason for singing? And she didn't know what her reason for singing was. That was the moment where she realized that she sings, you know, to help other people.
Yes. And so her and
which,
Nanami,
you know, I read as being like, she wants to get Nanami out of her situation, and I'm like, there's a little bit of a thing there. I like them. I like those two together.
I want them to get married. Not date. I just want them to get married instantaneously. They're perfect for each other.
I'm talking Spy Family. You're getting married tomorrow.
Frame one. Frame one, they're going to wake up and they're going to have a little Anya Forger dressed up as Kongming. Who do I have to pay to get that drawn? But so at this point, Nanami is talking with Eiko, and she's like, well, I guess the next time we meet, we're going to be rivals then, huh? And then Eiko's just like, I want to sing together again with you. Nanami's trying not to fucking cry. She holds up her fucking fist like she's goddamn Ken Street Fighter and just walks away without another word. And then Kongming was apparently there the entire time, dressed up in a mascot uniform, being like, oh, this is so touching. And then Eiko's like, what the fuck are you doing here?
Dude, Kongming is crazy.
Gotta say, Kongming was pretty absent for most of this episode. He was in background shots though.
Yes.
I love that Kongming is such a troll in scenes that he's not in.
Oh yes! Yeah. What is it? So we had another sub story with Kame Taijin, and there's one shot that really stuck out to me where it's you know, an establishing shot of Kame Taijin and all these other guys like practicing rap freestyle underneath the bridge, and all you see is Kongming off to the side holding two branches, and he just kind of scuttles off screen.
It's so fucking funny. It's so
Where's Kongming getting the money to pay the bus fares to go to these places?
How much do you want to bet the manager of the BB just pays for it because he's like, you're Kongming?
No, dude, he gets hella tips. That dude is at the bar going, done. He gets hella tips.
You're right, yeah.
Nah, he earns his keep.
He is the most efficient weekend bartender of all time. 100%.
1000%. He should make my drink right now.
We should do the math on that. Okay, so like I think we should actually do this. How fast is Kongming making a drink? Like 2 seconds?
Yes. Essentially, yeah.
Okay, so 2 seconds. All right, so the average amount of time it takes for me to make my specialty drink is about 1:50.
Okay.
So 1.8 minutes.
Okay.
So
we'll round that up to 2 minutes.
All right, so 2 minutes. So 2 minutes. So 2 minutes.
So he does it in essentially like 100th of the time.
100th of the time. So 100. So he is 100 times faster. So on a night where that bar makes like $15,000 normally off of just drinks alone, Kongming is making that $150,000. by the speed of which he is just pouring alcohol.
God.
This is
That is
I
that
think
is an
what
absurd amount
happens
of
though
money.
is in some of the shots that he was doing that, I have a suspicion that he knows the regulars like orders, so he makes them, you know, like knowing they walk up and he's like, oh, this person's gonna order this. All right, there you go, it's done.
Well, oh my God, so that probably increases the speed even more. Because
All
now he's
right.
got cues.
We're gonna have to call Matt Pat.
Oh my God.
It's time for an episode of Anime Theory.
I think we really need to. I think this is real. I think Kongming is actually making so much money for this guy that he's like the SpongeBob SquarePants of alcohol.
Oh my God! Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. And it's just him going through a battlefield on a horse as blood is splattering all over him. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Well, like think of it that way. Like if Kongming was to get in a real fight, do you think he would lose? Like if someone throws hands with that guy, like just swing. Like
Oh no, he wins.
He flash
Exactly.
kicks.
Yeah, SpongeBob can't lose. He's always ready.
The only thing
He
that
will
could
always block the overhead.
The only thing that was able to kill Kongming was old age and disease. He can't throw hands with a germ.
Oh my God, there's modern medicine in that year too. Like
He's invincible now.
fine.
Yeah, he's fine.
Kongming
Kongming
probably
would
saw COVID and was like, "Oh my
simultaneously
God."
Kongming could simultaneously cure cancer while also being able to turn people into dinosaurs. It's
So
insane.
yeah, that's Kongming. He's just a wacky guy. I really like that they're really taking because you know how like they Flanderize a character when they do shit like this.
Yes.
Like they went, yeah, we're Flanderizing this guy. You can't stop us.
Nick, I can't believe you just said Kongming has the ability of fucking scary monsters.
I was going to say there's a very particular Spider-Man villain that has that ability.
Oh, okay.
Where he just is able to rewrite
Wait,
DNA
oh, what are
on
you
the
talking about?
fly.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, he's able to rewrite DNA on the fly to turn people into dinosaurs. And there's a scene where Peter Parker's like, you can rewrite DNA on the fly and you turn people into dinosaurs? You could be curing cancer, but I don't want to cure cancer. I want to turn people into dinosaurs.
That's true.
I've seen that panel out
It's
of
my
context so
favorite.
many times.
It is my favorite Spider-Man panel. It's
Kongming
so
is like-
fucking funny.
Kongming is like, you're helping Aiko become a superstar using military strategy. You could be bringing us world peace. He's like, but I don't want to bring world peace. I want to make Aiko into an idol.
Oh my God.
Oh fuck.
Jeez.
And
They
then
need, all right. Well, next episode it's the war for 10,000 likes.
Oh yeah.
let's go.
I mean,
100,000.
do you want to go over the
100,000
Kame
likes.
Taijin side story a little bit?
There wasn't much that happened really with the Kame Taijin story. He
Yeah,
just
it was
walks
mostly
up and he
just-
hangs out with his friends. That's it.
He's basically all we have to mention, you know, for the sake of like next week, he's basically just practicing because he's going to battle Sekitoba Kung Fu again.
Yeah, but we already knew about that. Like
Yeah.
literally, they touch on Kame Taijin to act as a transition, essentially. But
Oh boy, it's time. It is time once again to talk about my favorite show.
the show where the
Oh.
X is silent.
It is silent.
No, it means key.
Yes, it's
Spy
time
Key
for the newest
Family?
episode of Spy Key Family.
Oh boy.
Oh my! Okay, so I've been looking forward to talking about this with you two.
Oh yeah,
because I know for a fact that Kai and Lana both despise the new character,
He's
and I
the
can't
worst.
tell if it's for the same reasons or for different
It
reasons.
might be okay. So I
All
don't
right,
know
I've
what
got an
Lana's
idea.
reason
I've got
is
an
for
idea.
hating Yuri Briar.
No, I've got an idea. Hold on. Stop.
Okay.
I got a cool plan.
All right.
Okay. We're both gonna message in 10 words how we feel about Yuri Briar to Nick. And he's just gonna read them out.
Well, we're just DMing Nick right now.
We're just DMing Nick right now.
In 10 words, tell
10
me.
words or less.
Yeah,
10
10
words or
words or
less.
less. tell me, why do you hate Yuri Briar? And Yuri Briar's strongest soldier,
No,
will
you're not.
probably not defend him.
That's not true.
I am not Yuri Briar's strongest soldier.
There's a woman that I am currently vacationing with who is a stronger soldier than you are by a lot. The results are in.
And so it looks like the results are in, and I'm gonna look at Kai's first, since he got his sent in first.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So this guy literally wants to fuck his sister. No cap.
That's good. I like this.
Okay. Yeah, and so we got Kai's reasoning. Known incest hater, Kai.
And by the way, I've seen Oliver Ramo, and I actually enjoyed it when I watched it the first time.
All right. So
Let's hear
for this one,
Lana's.
Nick.
Let's hear Lana's.
For this one, Nick, can you voice it like Jin Kisaragi?
Oh my god! Oh, please.
All right, I'll see what I can do. Yuri Briar is Sword Art Online Sugiha, but worse. Dude.
He does do that, doesn't he?
It's so good.
He does.
Okay.
He does just
at
pause
least...
at horrible times, doesn't
No,
he?
he does.
He does. He really does. If you get in my way, I'll cut you.
Like, Jin Kisaragi is the most anime of anime goddamn protagonists.
Oh my god.
So may I add on real quick? So we have both of our reasons being that he wants to basically literally fuck his sister.
Yeah, it's like he loves his sister to a unhealthy degree.
He is a German soldier, isn't he?
He is a German soldier.
He is a
He is a
member of
boy.
the secret police.
Oh, okay, so let's back up. Let's back up.
All right.
Let's try this.
So are we going from start of the episode then?
Oh my god, we're never getting
right.
monetized. So
Oh my gosh.
okay,
no,
so
he's-
here's the deal. The end of the last episode was the cliffhanger from the manga where we finally see Yuri Briar, Yor's brother. Yor's brother is very shocked, very, very, very understandably, that his sister, who he talks to once a week, has been married for a year, according to the paperwork.
And so to give an idea, if for some reason you haven't watched this and haven't seen this scene, he essentially does the Tails gets trolled face.
Yes, he does. Yes,
It's
he does.
really
Certainly
funny.
does.
So I'm just gonna walk through it. Okay, I'm just gonna walk through it. I think I've got this one, guys. I think I can do it. So
Okay, so let it be known that whenever the episode is wholly focused on incest, Lana's got us covered.
apparently, so the we meet Yuri, and he seems like, when we start meeting him, he seems like a nice guy. You know what I mean? Like he was polite to Yor in episode 2 when we met her, when he was on the phone, right? And he's the reason that Yor wanted to get into this relationship with Loid, because she didn't want to lie about having a boyfriend and didn't want to get caught at the party or whatever, and things just kind of mapped out like this. Shenanigans of anime comedy ensue. When we meet Yuri for real, there's something wrong. there's first of all, we need to think about like the actual baseline lore revolving around Spy Family. We are currently in an extremely imperialistic country, and we know that Yuri is a member of the police, like the like of the police in that country. What we don't know is Yuri's job as a member of the police. And the long story short, we didn't need to watch Tomodachi Game because Yuichi is right here. He's right here. And his name is Yuri Briar. And his whole job is to torture people who have been told are informants into confessing, basically, to get more information about Westalis, which is the country that Loid's from.
Yes.
His goal with this job is to capture Twilight.
Sure is convenient that your Briar just happens to be married to a guy that just moved into the country. Isn't that weird?
A guy who has a job as a psychiatrist and is very, plain-faced, and recently adopted a daughter.
Well, she doesn't know that she's adopted.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it crazy? They just don't know that she's adopted.
It's wild.
They don't know.
But the thing that they do know is that Bondman's pistol has only 2/8 of its shots left.
It sure does. Oh man.
That is my favorite part of this episode.
It's yeah.
Where so real quick, and then I will let you continue, Lana, because this is one of those small details that anytime I think about it, it just makes me so happy. So at the very beginning of the episode, it shows Anya in school, and then the teacher's going up to her, and he's like, "Okay, Miss Forger, what is the answer to this question here with this fraction?" And she stands up and with complete confidence says, 1/3. That is completely wrong. And I can respect the confidence behind stupidity like that. You want to know why? Because that's how you run a podcast. You can say something insanely wrong, but if you say it with enough confidence, you'll fool enough people to where they're not gonna give a shit. And so she's real hung up on the fact that she got that shit wrong. And so
I'm just sitting here like, how did you not just read your teacher's mind and be like, oh, it's 5/6 minus 2/3. Okay, so that's 1/6.
Well, she doesn't want to cheat. She wants to actually learn it. And you know what? I can respect the hustle. But
it's very funny because that's something that Izuku Midoriya did once early in My Hero, and I thought it was the funniest shit I ever saw in my life.
Oh my god. But so you cut back to the house, and this is before Yor even shows up to tell Loid, "Hey, my brother knows about everything. Shit's fucked." Essentially, Anya's watching TV, and Loid is on the couch, they're both kind of vibing. And then Anya's like, "How many bullets does Bondman's pistol hold in it?" And he's like, "I don't know. It should be like 8." And he has 2 left. That's 2/8. And then Loid is like, "Holy shit, are the cartoons teaching my child math?" And then she stands up, fucking hero posed, ready to fucking go. And she's like, "I have 2/8 bullets left." And then Yor walks in and she's like, "Mo daihenda." Loid's like, "What's wrong?" And then Anya turns to her and just says, "I have 2/8 bullets left." And I'm just like, because it's the most child thing. You just like impressed one of your parents by doing a math thing, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm so fucking cool. I want to repeat it again to the next person that comes in so they know how fucking cool I am and how gigantic my fucking brain is." Like, tell me that's not the most child thing. I 100% did that when I was 4.
Oh,
that's true. I do that now.
Yeah, no.
I do that all the time.
Oh my gosh.
I do that all the time.
But yeah, so Yor comes in and says to Loid, "My brother's coming right now." And he's like, "It's now? Today? Oh, fuck." So they start getting ready for Yuri to show up. At this moment, like Yuri's taking his time. He hasn't shown up for a while. we get this nice shot of Anya and Loid, because now he's realized, oh, I can teach her math with Spy Wars. They're reading Spy Wars manga. It's so cute.
And then Anya is just like, I gotta wait for my uncle to show up. And then they're like, no, you're tired, but I need to meet my Oji-san. And then she just passes the fuck out, dead as a rock.
It really is. It really must be special for Anya to be able to meet extended family, and Yuri is the only member of her extended family.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's the equivalent of that one time when I learned what New Year's was, and I'm like, I want to be able to stay up until midnight. I want to know what the New Year is. And then the moment it hit midnight, I was like, yeah, this is awesome. I want to go to bed.
Yeah. I think the first time it happened for me, I had the literal verbatim Arthur realization of it, where it's like, that's it? Nothing happened? What? Okay, New Year. See ya. I'm going to bed.
So Yuri's on his way to the Forgers, and he's got a bouquet of roses. And if you ask me, what I think he was trying to do was try to win his sister's love back.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
The size of that bouquet he had? No, he's straight up.
It was so big that I'm pretty sure if he clubbed somebody with it, they would have died.
I think we should take Yuri how we saw it, not how it looks. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because like the way they sunshine and rainbows it as he's going up, like his internal monologue is basically just like, I need to get my sister. I need to go see my sister. It's gonna be like, I haven't seen my sister in so long. But like then like things get a little weird when you can hear like his internal monologue clashing with everyone's, because then you start to realize everybody in this house, all 4 people in this house, are bullshitting through their fucking teeth at each other.
They lie as naturally as they breathe, and
all they know how to do is lie and eat peanut.
Yes, and it's very interesting, I feel, because then Yuri actually makes it to the house, right? After he has his horny little inner monologue of, I can feel the tingling in my ribs. Ooh, I miss my sister. And so he knocks on the door, and Loid answers. And so when Loid and Yuri meet each other, they're looking directly in each other's eyes, and they're speaking with one another. But as they're speaking to one another, their actual dialogue is very, very low in volume. In the mix, it's very low. They are giving priority to their inner monologues that they are having in their heads. And it's chaotic because it's just them meeting each other, but you're having their inner monologues talking over one another constantly. And it's not just with Loid and Yuri, but Yor and Yuri, where they will constantly be like, I can't let them find out. I need this kind of information. I need to see what's going on. And they are thinking over each other. And like, you have to like kind of double take to make sure that you heard what they might have been saying, because of the fact that everything starts to mesh together in the chaos of like what everyone is thinking. And it is, one, it makes me feel really bad for Anya because she has to live with this every single day. But 2, in general, it is a very interesting way to kind of frame all of the internal thoughts of these characters, in that not only are they having to be frantic to make sure that they don't expose each other, but also kind of symbolizing that through that internal strife and those internal monologues, they're already essentially going to war with one another. And it is like and maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe I'm giving it too much credit, but like, that's the kind of thing I think that a lot of creators tend to really think about when they make these kinds of artistic decisions about stuff like that. That was an artistic decision that stood out to me a lot. Maybe there wasn't that much thought into it, but I would like to think that there was.
Like Lana had mentioned this, early on when we started talking about Spy Family, the fact that Loid can speak a sentence and think at the same time.
Yes.
Like it's phenomenal. It's like, okay, and in that way, you know, like he can be speaking, but then like, you know, we will hear his thoughts as to what his real intentions are.
It really does feel like they're having a Death Note argument, but instead of like everyone against like light, it's or like Loid in our case. We'll use Loid as light. I don't want to say Loid's light. I'd rather say that Yuri's light, but whatever.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because Yuri's a detective, so you know I'm still on track. The issue with this one is that it's not everyone versus Loid. It's more like Loid versus Yuri, but like Anya versus the world because she knows everything, but she can't say anything about knowing everything, or she'll totally fuck everything up.
Yeah.
And then like it's Yor versus herself.
Yeah.
It's, you know how there's that fucking plot diagram of like protagonist versus author, protagonist versus world, protagonist versus society, protagonist versus God. Then you have protagonist versus self. And then there's a subset of that, which is your forger versus your forger.
Yeah, like your forger is your forger's worst enemy.
100%.
Everyone here loves your forger. Honestly, if your forger told every single one of them the absolute unbridled truth, I'm pretty sure every single one of them would understand.
Or they wouldn't believe her.
Or they wouldn't believe her. You're right.
That's what's more likely to happen, even though there's a scene that happens that I'll let you go into detail in a little bit where I'm just like, how the fuck does Yuri not know?
Yeah.
Yuri's ignorant enough to become an imperialist soldier.
That is true. He's really stupid. Speaking
he is very indoctrinated into the idea that his government is like God.
Yes.
And like that what they're doing is for the good of not only the country but mankind, and he loves Yor more than anything. So he has created this like bizarro ideology that like doing what is good for the sake of the country and mankind, as he has been told by his government, is what is necessary to make sure that Yor lives the quiet life that he and Yor always dreamed of as children. That is the explanation, not justification, of Yuri Briar.
Yes.
There is not much more to it. But like, because the character is so dynamic on screen, like the way that their like expressions and their like hyperbole, they are entertaining is the term I will use.
Yes.
Like that is how I legitimately and cleanly feel about Yuri Briar without like popping off, so to speak.
Basically, the way I would describe Yuri Briar as a character, he's very entertaining. If I knew him in real life, I would want to kick him down a flight of stairs. Which is how I feel about Adachi, to be frank.
What really sucks is that we don't know how talented he is in combat, and I want to know.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know really badly, because there's no way you introduce a character like this and don't have them fight Loid for real. And I want to see if Yuri's got the stuff. Not like the stuff to beat him, but the stuff for us to see something entertaining, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that I want to see sometime soon. And I don't think I have in the manga. So like I'm hoping it comes. Please, someone in the back. Like we need to see Yuri Briar beating the shit out of someone that's not already captured.
Who wants to see Yuri Briar swing?
Me.
Ooh, yeah.
I do. I don't like Yuri Briar. I hope that he's a jobber, but like if he's
what if
not,
he's not though?
Exactly. Like if he isn't and he's just but he could also have henchmen. What if he has henchmen? Oh my God.
That makes him even more of a piece of shit then.
That would make him like almost forgivable as a character that I have to see in my media.
Like he becomes a mid boss.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yeah, he becomes this guy a mid boss.
So yeah, like let's see this guy throw some hands. Anyway.
So getting back to it, they let everyone in. They're vibing. Loid makes a whole bunch of like food for everyone, and it's a really nice spread. He makes like this, what I can only describe as like a honey and lemon sauce on some salmon, and it made me want to order some sushi real fucking bad. And then Yuri's like, "Ah, I'm not gonna eat this drivel. There's no way he can make food that's any good." And in his mind, he's being like super duper like backhanded to Loid, trying to find every excuse in the world to hate him.
Remember when the old man that's Anya's teacher started or was meeting them during the entrance exam or the
Yes.
entrance interview, and he was trying to find like something wrong with the forgers. This is like asking them to do a like Lloyd's part of that interview just again.
Pretty much, except it's like turned up to 11 because it's like Henry Henderson nightmare mode.
Yeah, but like in this case, it's like now Lloyd doesn't have to worry about the outside variables.
Yeah.
You know, he just has to do the combo. He knows the combo.
He knows the combo. And so
Yeah.
right now,
Oh man.
he's like kind of getting shit together. He's like making coffee and some more food, getting stuff cleaned up. And he's like, Yor told me that she was going to handle telling Yuri why she forgot to tell him about the marriage thing and explaining everything to him, right? And so Yuri sits down and he's like, Nason, why didn't you tell me about this shit? I deserve to know. And then she looks up to him and with the most sincere delivery possible, wide-eyed, most innocent look, she looks up to him and just says, I forgot. What?
Yeah, he did.
And then Yuri like looks back to her and is just like, but what about when we were talking on the phone earlier and you literally told me about the fact that you were trying to bring your partner to that party? Why didn't you tell me then? And then she looks up to him with the same face and just says, I forgot that I forgot to tell you. And Lloyd's face is just like,
The entire time he's like, and he's buying this because like, and the narrator explains like, after Yuri's like, oh, of course, yeah, no, that's fine, sis, it's fine. It's like all logic goes out the window when he thinks about.
He
his
just starts
sister.
pog champing.
Yeah, he starts
He's just a
pogging.
simp. He's just a simp.
It's like, wow, Yor, you're just, why am I a spy? People are this gullible. This is
I
insane.
can't believe people are this stupid. And so
Says the guy who doesn't know that she's an assassin.
oh yeah, for real.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lloyd sits down and starts getting fucking interrogated by Mr. Secret Police here. And he's just like, what is this heat? I don't get why the fuck is he, why do I feel like I'm part of an interrogation? And he changes the subject a bit, but not before Yuri Briar starts throwing a hissy fit, being like, I can't believe my sister married you. No! And
Yeah,
he starts downing.
He just
wine
goes like,
directly out of the
damn
bottle.
it.
Oh my god, Kai!
He does just start reeing, doesn't he? This guy.
For context, for those that are just listening and they aren't watching the actual video, I just tried to. I was doing water while screaming, but I started choking, and I just spurted water all over me for the bit. I don't care. It's for the bit.
Oh my god! Oh fuck!
Don't die, dude.
No,
I'm just covered in water for the rest of the episode. It's fine.
Oh my god, this is the wet t-shirt contest of my dreams. But fuck, okay. Oh my god, okay, I think I have my composure back. So he just chugs the wine directly out of the bottle. There's also a little detail where they're setting up the wine and everything. And then right before they start drinking, Loid turns to Yor and he's like, you're not allowed to drink tonight. And she's like, I know. Sadly. Like Yor wants to drink so fucking bad, but Lloyd's like, no, we're not dealing with this shit again. I don't want to die. So they're getting Yuri real boozed up, and just like his sister, he cannot handle his liquor. And so Yuri starts talking about a bunch of stuff, and he's talking with Yor, and then Yor's like, oh yeah, didn't you go out to see the city recently? Like to the city in another country. He's like, oh yeah, I went to go out to see the city. It was this beautiful place. And we went to the hotel, and this old man made us this absolutely wonderful stew. And I went out and got this bottle of wine. And like, while all this is going on, you cut to Loid's internal monologue. And when he's like, oh yeah, we went to go get the stew. And then Loid's internal monologue hits, and he's like, it was served by an old man in a hotel. Yeah, and it was served by an old man in a hotel. And then we went out to get this wine from an old vendor. It was 200 dalk, and it costed 200 dalk. And he's essentially calling every single thing that Yuri is saying.
He's got him on red.
Because the things that Yuri's saying to both Yor and Loid are from the espionage playbook of the secret police, where when you are on a mission and you have to tell someone where you are, this is the playbook that you tell them bit by bit. And Loid knows it's bullshit because the stew that was being served at the hotel is now being served by his son. The wine is now 300, or it's like 250
it's 300 dalks.
It's 300 dalk instead of 200 now. And like, he knows the small details that doesn't add up. But from that, he is essentially able to deduce, without Yuri saying a word, trying to keep it as much of a secret from his sister as possible, that he is a narc. And he's like, okay, yeah, this Yuri guy's probably after me. I got to be real careful around this dude, but I could also use him to get a lot of information. So Loid is like, oh, this is actually kind of rad that it's working out this way. And then that's when and that's when Yuri starts dropping a little bit of his backstory on why he loves his sister so much and why he finds it so difficult to accept Loid as his brother-in-law. Where you cut to Yuri and Yor as children. And then Yuri's like, oh man, I'm starting school, but we don't even have money for me to get all of my books and supplies. How am I supposed to study like this? And then you cut to Yor as a small child coming in through the door being like, Yuri, I'm home. And then he's like, what? And she's just completely covered in blood from head to toe. And she's talking to him. And she's like, don't worry, it's fine. And it comes to an internal thought of her just saying to herself, don't worry, it's not my blood. And she pulls out a book from a bag and is like, here, this is that encyclopedia that you were needing. And it's just cutting to like different shots of Yuri Briar as a baby, completely covered in blood from head to toe, being like, here's this thing that you need. Oh, here's this other little thing that we got you. And he's like, oh man, Yor took care of me as a child. And it transitions from this completely ridiculous, surreal element of the fact that his sister is completely covered in blood the entire time, back to this very sincere delivery of why he loves and respects his sister so much in the present. And then he's just like, so Loid, I need to know, can you protect my sister better than I can? Because I don't think you can. And then Loid stands up and just says, I love Yor more than anyone, probably more than you. I would protect her from anything. Wild spears. I would even protect her from meteors. And then the narrator cuts in and just says, he lies as naturally as he breathes. And it cuts back to Yuri. It was the funniest quote. Is my favorite quote from the episode, where he's just like, I could protect my Nason from spears, but meteors? That's on a whole nother level, dude. I don't think I can do this.
I think that's also at this point where he realizes, wait a minute, you call her Yor? You say her first name? What? Hold on, Yor. Do you have like a nickname for him or something? Like, do you call him Loidy? Like, and then she's like, no, I just call him Mr. Loid. And he just goes like, Loidy! Ah! Yeah, he goes down to the wine again.
so fucking
he's just going. I think that was the only thing I'm just like, yeah, you know what? That's funny. That's funny, Yuri Briar.
It's very
You're still a terrible character, but you're funny.
I wish that I was born earlier and that I made smarter decisions, because this is such an easy character for me to voice. This is such an easy character. It would come so naturally. What an easy character to voice. Yuri Briar.
I feel like I could also hit this character pretty easily.
I could too.
Yeah, this is a very in-range character. I don't know who's voice acting them in English. I hope that I'm sure they're very good, because this character deserves a person who can really act.
Yes.
Like loudly. Someone who acts very loud. I would love Nicolas Cage as this character.
Oh
you know
my
what I mean? Like
Nicolas Cage as your Briar.
And he just like he just screams, he just loses his mind.
But at this point now, like Loid has made this statement. Yuri is mind broken. And then all of a sudden, Loid and yours hands, they kind of do a little tappy tap. And then they're like, ooh, that's embarrassing. You can't hold hands. That's lewd. And then Yuri's like, saw that. And at this point, he's blitzed.
Yeah. He's like, wait a minute. You've been married for over a year. Why is this a big deal of you touching hands? Well, you know, it's prove to me you're married, prove to me. And Loid's just like, oh, well, like, I can grab you the marriage certificate if you want. No, kiss her. Kiss.
He's literally over here just like, I want you to make out with my sister right now.
Listen, you gotta respect Yuri Briar's mettle when he says to Loid that this isn't verbatim, obviously, but he does say to him, I want you to cuck me right now. Right now, Loid Forger, if you want to defeat me.
And so Loid's like, okay, like in universe, you know, it happens in literally like a split second, but it like the time slows down. We have a timer. It shows he makes a decision in like 0.2 seconds, where he goes through like, okay, well, all right, I haven't kissed her before, but like this is for the mission, so I absolutely have to do this. And he goes like, yes, I will kiss her. And Yor, of course, she's sober. She's like, what? She's gonna kiss me? And he leans in. She goes like, and then the episode cuts. We end.
I cannot get over just Yuri Briar with sheer sincerity, drunk out of his mind, turning to Loid and just being like, if you want to prove to me that you actually married my sister right in front of me, fuck my sister. And I'm over here just like, this is going to end up as a dojin. 100% this is going to end up as a Spy Family dojin, and I hate it. Oh fuck.
Oh man, but that is episode 8 of Spy Family. Good lord.
Honestly, it's taken 8 episodes for them to kiss. If they do, it'd be great.
Yeah, that's true.
If they kissed, it would be very cute. I want them to be married, and I want them to love each other, and I want them to have a second kid named Lore.
Lore Forger.
Lore Forger.
Yeah, Lore Forger. It would be perfect. Forged identities, forged lore. Come on, it writes itself. It's Loid and your lore.
Boruto. It's Bolt Naruto.
Oh
exactly. Come on, but Kishimoto, pay me to write Spy Family. Come on, Shueisha. I will write the Spy Family spinoff. By Bamly.
By
Bam.
Or it's Spy X Family, except instead of the X, it's just the B emoji in between.
No. Here it is. It's Spy Key Family, but you actually have like the Union Cross X instead of the regular X.
No, it's just a house key. But yeah, like all in all, that episode's pretty strong. I know next episode, the actual preview, like Oh god, there's a point where Yuri is just like on the fucking ground and his entire head is covered in blood. And I think I remember vaguely why that happens, but even if I do remember, I'm not going to go into detail about it because I don't want to be a spoiler cop.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, in general, Spy Family still continues to be my favorite thing this season. And I want to say now, even though we're not doing Jujutsu Kaisen this week, I'm kind of happy with what we've picked now overall with our 3 shows. Just like because we're hitting the point now where Spy Family is going to be ending in about 4 or 5 episodes, right?
We're getting either episode 12 or 13. Then they're taking a hiatus until October.
Yes, so we're going to be running out of Spy Family soon. So we're going to have to find something new to fill the blackened void in our hearts.
We've got some options, so you know.
We'll think it over. We'll look over some shit. But all in all, yeah, good episode. I'm kind of digging a lot of it. I went over all of the reasons why I liked it, unless there's anything else that anyone else wants to talk about.
Just a quick thought, because we do have options. Once we do have to get rid of Spy Family during the hiatus, should we do a poll on what shows
we'll figure that stuff out when we get to it. Like I have plans and stuff kind of in place that's it's all smoke and mirrors and in the backstage, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay,
don't worry about that. What did you just see behind the backstage? Get the fuck out of here or I will throw you underneath the party bus.
If you do like Yuri Briar, like he is a very well-rounded character. There's an OVA of him babysitting Anya that's coming apparently. I'm very excited about that.
There was a spin-off manga where he like babysits Anya for the day, and there's a drawing of Anya where she's like mimicking him being a piece of shit German soldier, like having her hand like on the table with like this menacing face.
It isn't a spin-off manga, it's a spin-off light novel.
Oh right, light novel.
Yeah, just for context. But yeah.
Oh, okay. So we can get some translations, but we should get some pictures. There's some really good pictures.
Yeah.
Oh my god. But yeah, I think with that, we can pretty much wrap for the night. Once again, thank you all so much for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you, Kai and Lana, once again, for giving me the excuse to use my oft unused talent of media analysis and also my oft too much used talent of talking into a microphone way too fucking much.
Hey man, I'm just having a good time with my friends, you know?
Hey. All right, thanks to everyone for watching, and you've just been round up.
Once again, real quick, if you would like to follow any of us on social media, you can find myself at RedMufflerMan on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Kai,
you can follow me on Twitter at Kbul Art. Lana,
Technotenor 487.
And then, of course, if you like what we do, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Also, feel free to subscribe to our sister channel, Geek Culture Explained, as well as checking out Rob over at Comics Explained. Without them, we would not be able to keep the lights on, and I'm feeling pretty fortunate. I have some stuff that I'm cooking up over there soon. Hopefully people get to see that over here in the next few months. And I apparently hope that I have not broken some sort of invisible NDA that I like drunk signed or something, but we'll see what happens. But with that, we will see you all next week where we hopefully get to record on time. And I'm not going to want to watch a small gray homestuck gremlin shoot a flintlock pistol. Yeah. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good one.
Have a good night. Take care. Thank you.
All right. I think I can now release